I'd like to welcome everybody to the February 3rd workshop meeting of the Marlborough Township Board of Education. Cindy, would you please call the roll?
Here. Mr. Dwyer?
Here.
Mrs. Ennie? Here. Mrs. Cow? Mrs. Lou Rudell?
Here.
Mr. Marshall?
Here.
Mrs. Matos?
Here.
Mrs. Rosenwald?
Here.
Mr. Lalansky?
Here. Please be advised this meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, the Sunshine Law. Adequate notice of the date, time, and agenda has been sent to Asbury Park Press and the news transcript. It has also been posted and filed with the Marlborough Township Clerk. Copies have also been sent to each district school and other area newspapers in accordance with the law. I'm going to bring your attention to, but I'm not going to read in its entirety, the statement of videotaping of public portion of Board of Education meetings, the public session statement, as well as no smoking on school grounds. Pleased tonight to have a group of fourth graders from Robertsville Elementary School who will lead us in the pledge tonight. That will be Albert Dong, Alex Ha, Max Karp, and Karteb Trividi. Everybody please rise.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Boys and girls.
please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated.
Well done. Review the agenda tonight. We'll have a student presentation, followed by a public session, followed by kindergarten, discussion on the kindergarten complement program, team discussion of this 15-16 school year calendar, followed by a final public session. We will be having an executive session tonight as well. Sir, student presentation.
At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Steve Schifferson, who's going to introduce Mrs. Kathy York and Mrs. Farabono and our wonderful students from Robertsville on their presentation. He's out.
I think we're good. As I was about to say, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Hibbs, thank you for having us. Ladies and gentlemen, as you, I am sure, well aware, Park has been in the news, Park has been on the internet, Park has been everywhere. All the kids in Marlborough and the Robertsville kids I can attest to have been practicing for Park. They've been practicing the instructional piece, they've been practicing the operational piece. And that's what they'll be presenting this evening. They're excited, so please be nice. Especially their parents, please be nice, and their brothers and sisters, please be nice. And with that said, Mrs. York will continue and introduce Mrs. Bono, who is a fourth grade teacher and hiding over there, who will take you to the next level of Park.
Thank you. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. For those of you who don't know, once a year, every school gets to do a little presentation for the board, so it's a great honor. We're glad to be back. You also have to know that, there's a little bit of pressure to put on something that maybe another school hasn't. This year, we decided to stick with the hot topic of Park, and basically, back in the spring, our teachers were all trained. They turnkey that over to the students. The students had the opportunity to do the practice assessment. They showed up again in September and have not only had great experiences with Park, have gained knowledge with Park, and now I think they're going to prove that they are ready for Park. So with that being said, we'd like to introduce Mrs. Bono and her group.
Yeah, it's got to be on the video. Yeah.
So I was gonna say, I can speak loud enough. But if you want me on the mic, put in your plugs. Good evening, President Lalansky, members of the board, Dr. Hibbs, neighbors, parents, Marlboro community. We have the distinct pleasure of being here tonight to share with you some of the fabulous things we're doing in school. It actually all started as a joke because last week we were talking about park and I took a pencil in my hand. And I pretended to serenade the pencil, and I snapped it in half, and I started singing to the pencil, "You're going down, we're taking part, you better toggle, and drag and drop, and use the answer eliminator, just to see if you are smart." As you can see, the children in my class and some of my former students that are here tonight, I incorporate song into a lot of my lessons, and we have a lot of fun. First, I'd like to introduce the boys and girls. We have Mr. Perlo, Mr. Simon, Mr. Karp, Mr. Ha, Mr. Dong, Mr. Trevetti, Benny, I'm going to try my best, Mr. Amstislavsky, Miss Sahani, Miss Sheikh, who's it? Miss Petruzzi, Miss Gandalia, Miss Marquetta, Miss Milan, and Miss Gelfond. So after we incorporate park-like lessons into all of our ELA curriculum, and it's not as though we're just practicing park, but it's a different way of learning, it's a different way of approaching a text, learning how to toggle between a piece of literature and a video. And so we've been doing this since September, and when I broke out into song last week, the boys and girls came running down the hall the next day, and they begged, they were like, "Please, can we write our own park songs?" And I looked at them like they, were a little nuts. And I said, "Really? You want?" And with that, I said, "You know what? It's the last day of the marking period. Go crazy." Never expecting for them to produce the types of parodies they did and then to be asked to present it at the board. So in Robertsville, we've always dedicated February to what used to be called LOL, the love of learning, where we would focus on small group instruction and other areas that we felt as though the students really needed to master. And this year, we have adopted, thanks to Miss Cody, POP, which stands for Power Over Park. And I truly believe that if you empower children, as adults, when you feel empowered, you could accomplish any task. You can climb Mount Everest, Mount Kilimanjaro, you have no fears in the world. And that's what we are trying to do at Robertsville. Have the children feel empowered so that they could reach success at any level, at any task they accomplish. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce the boys and girls, and I'd like to ask, they're going to be up on the stage, so I'd like to ask the board members if they would kindly take a seat. And then after they present, they're going to work one-on-one with you for a couple of minutes in Chromebooks. It's very exciting, Ms. Borragu. If they can do it, so can you. I'll remove the tape. She said, "What about me? Did you want to come up?" I said, "You want to talk?"
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to take the park test. Let's get ready to tackle. You have to toggle and drag and drop. We're not worried because we're prepared. We're gonna smile with a great glare. Because we're taking part, clap along if you feel like you're more prepared. Taking part, clap along if you much in my brain. That's what my friends say. Ooh, ooh. That's what my friends say. Ooh, ooh. I take too many tests. Dun, 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 so I can get good grades. Dun, 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 dun. That's, at least that's what my parents say. Ooh, ooh. That's what my parents say. Ooh, ooh. But I keep testing. Can't stop, won't stop testing. It's like I got this knowledge in my brain saying it's gonna be alright. Cause the teacher's gonna teach, 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 teach. And the learner's gonna learn, 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 learn. And we are gonna taking part. We're gonna use the line, reader, 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 reader. And we are gonna toggle, 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 toggle. And we are gonna taking part. We never get it wrong. Dun, dun, dun. We're fast at taking it. That's what they all see. Ooh, ooh. That's what they all see. Ooh, ooh. We take it on our own. Dun, 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 dun. I think them as I go. Dun, 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 dun. That's what we all know. Ooh, ooh. That's what we all know. Ooh, ooh. But I keep testing. Can't stop, won't stop testing. It's like I got this knowledge in my brain saying it's gonna be alright. Cause the teacher's gonna teach, 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 teach. And the learner's gonna learn, 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 learn. And we are gonna taking part. We're gonna use the line, reader, 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 reader. And we are gonna toggle, 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 toggle. And we are gonna taking part. We are taking part. We are taking part.
How about you? Just look at the column. Wait, we're not doing the other first one. Okay.
We're all about that part.
The children wrote all the songs by themselves. They wrote the songs by themselves for the children. They presented them to the 4th grade at Robertsville. Some of the 5th grade. We're going to the 3rd grade. We're having a park pep rally. And as I said earlier, it's all about feeling empowered. We all have our mixed feelings, our emotions, our opinions, but the children feel empowered and they are excited. So they were wondering through their Google Classroom, they wanted to share how to use the park operations. They all brought their Chromebooks, so if you guys would like to take your seats, and I know it's going to be boring for you in the audience, so you could talk amongst yourselves for 5 minutes. Boys and girls, go ahead, partner up.
Well, wonderful presentation. Thank you very much. You got something else? Go ahead, go.
Hello. We wanted to thank everyone for coming out this evening, and we also wanted to give a special shout out to Mr. Mike, the custodian here at Marlboro Middle, who let us come in early and practice with the sound system. And Mr. Trevetti has one more thing he would like to add.
Dr. Hibbs, on behalf of Mrs. Bono's ELA class, Mr. Shiffrinson and Mrs. York, and the entire Robertsville community, we would like to present you with your very own Robertsville popping t-shirts because the students of Robertsville have power over park.
Here, don't go anywhere, you guys.
Wow.
I'm going to give a huge shout out to Robertsville. Well, let's give him a hand. That was amazing. I'm not a very good singer anyway, and I think singing Taylor Swift a cappella would really make you scared. So, boys and girls, that was amazing. Utterly amazing. And it seems to me that you're going to be really well prepared. I had Trevor and Logan. They absolutely killed it. Great job. They knew all about everything, all operational features. Wonderful job. Wonderful job. Okay? Thank you. Give a hand to the kids.
Take 10 minutes, right? Take a 10-minute break so the kids can go. Mike? All right, we're going to take a 10-minute break, so I'll take a motion for 10-minute. Second by Vicky.
Did you thank them on behalf of...
Oh, on behalf of the board, I want to thank all the children, parents coming out tonight. It was a great presentation. I worked with Alex. Did a great job, Alex.
Thank you.
All those in favor? Aye. Anybody against? No. I will adjourn for 10 minutes. Okay, we're back in public session. Today, public session open to any item, because so many speakers will be speaking tonight. We have an hour for public session. We're going to limit to 3 minutes per person, so everybody gets a chance to speak. Remember, there will be a second public session as well at the end of the meeting, again, as you like to speak, again, at the end of the meeting. Cindy has a clipboard.
Raymond Eng.
Again, I need name and address as well on the microphone.
Raymond Eng, address is 12 up Duncan Drive. I'm a resident of Marlboro for 32 years. Off the clock, before Steve Shiffrinson leaves the room, I just wanted to commend him for empowering the teachers in his school. I want to congratulate Mrs. Bono on the motivation and accomplishments of what she's doing in the student performance today. And, I think the teachers and many parents are overemphasizing. I have too much anxiety about the park exams. And let me just say that the presentation that you saw today just demonstrates that there's no question on the effectiveness of the school and of the teachers here in educating our students here in Marlboro. Right. You don't need a standardized exam to see this, right? Okay.
Okay, now I'm going to start the clock.
Okay, so let me say that as the Board of Education in Marlboro, in New Jersey, we have 600 school districts. So we operate on the principle of local control. And so the type of program, type of school calendar that we have here in Marlboro is not necessarily the same that of another town. We're not looking for, you don't have to have uniformity. This is the whole principle of local control. And the local control is responsible to the community that elects the board. And, just last week in the news transcript, it indicated the growth of the Chinese community. In the last census, it indicated that 17% of the people here in Marlboro are Asian Americans. And in the 2012 Board of Ed figures, it showed that Asian Americans composed of 23% of the student population. In the last 30 years, we've had the Chinese community grow to have 3 Chinese schools. We have the Chinese churches being established. We have the Asian market. Marlboro has become the epicenter of the Chinese community in Monmouth County. And with such a large population, the Board of Education should reflect and consider the feelings of the community. The recognition of Lunar New Year is also gives an official recognition to for the parents to educate their children. One of the concerns about these immigrants is the assimilation into America and losing or forgetting or abandoning their traditional values and cultures and customs. You see this, and this happens to all immigrants who come into America. And so this designation of Lunar New Year would give a official stamp of approval, recognition of the value of the traditions that come into the immigrants who come to America. And the Chinese tradition is a recognition of our 5,000 years of history in which our cultures and traditions and morals have developed and evolved. I also, in talking about values, it reminds me of the tragedy that occurred in New York City on December 20th, when two policemen, New York City policemen, Rafael Ramos and Wan Jin Liu, were shot point blank. I was fortunate to listen in on the memorial service for Wan Jin Lin, and it talked about his dedication to his family. He would call his father every day, buying a house for him when he was financially able to, working for the community. He tried, as a policeman, he went beyond the call of duty, beyond the literal jobs to serve his community. And these are the values that we want to pass on to our children. All right, so this is what we feel is important in terms of recognizing the Lunar New Year for the community, for our children, and for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Cindy, next.
There's going to be 4 children, Billy Zhang, Gloria Liu, Sophia Zhang, and the last little girl is not, young lady is not here. So those 3 children want to come up? Remember to state your name and your address.
Okay, so I'm going to be filling in for the girl that's not here. And my name is Ivy Wang, and I live at 8 Bennett Court.
You don't have to give your address. It's okay. Your students don't have to give their addresses.
Okay. So I'm an 8th grader at Marlboro Middle School, and I've attended the Huaxia South Chinese School, and I graduated just last year.
Good evening, I'm Gloria Liu. I have lived in Marlboro my whole life, which is 12 years. I currently attend Marlboro Middle School, and every Saturday I attend Huaxia Chinese School and learn about Chinese language and culture. We proudly represent the Chinese community from our Chinese school and all Chinese people in the Marlboro Township.
Good evening, my name is Sophie Zhang. I have also been a Marlboro resident for my entire life and presently attend Marlboro Middle School.
Good evening, board members. My name is Victoria Liu, and I've lived in Marlboro for the past 13 years. I am currently a junior at Freehold High School, but I am a true Marlboro citizen at heart. In my 13 years at Marlboro, I realized how ethnically diverse and culturally accepting we are to people of different backgrounds and histories. We have an annual Multicultural Day where we celebrate cultural arts. We have an annual Indian Garbo Festival where people of all backgrounds attend. We have days off for different religious holidays. However, despite these amazing outlets of diversity, I feel that my own Chinese culture has been underrepresented. At regular school, the only time people really look at my Chinese culture is during Chinese New Year. However, even then, they just mention it, talk about the hongbao, maybe the zodiac sign, and forget about it. No one bothers mentioning the overarching fact that Chinese New Year is a celebration of a history, a culture, a people. For example, who knows the origin of Chinese New Year zodiac signs? What traditional Chinese foods are eaten during Chinese New Year? What is the meaning of family during Chinese New Year? These deep cultural questions are often overlooked. In fact, for most people, Chinese New Year is just another date marked on the calendar to be forgotten. And the essence of the holiday is washed away by the superficial interest in it. And in Marlborough, where cultural diversification is so valued and so cherished, it is slightly unsettling to me that some people do not fully appreciate the cultural importance of Chinese New Year to Chinese people. Thus, I strongly support making Chinese New Year an official Marlborough holiday. Not only would it benefit the Chinese residents to rekindle their native customs, it would benefit the Marlborough community as a whole. Raising awareness of Chinese New Year will allow our citizens to have a more comprehensive understanding of Chinese culture. Making Chinese New Year a holiday would give people, Chinese or not, the spark to learn more about Chinese traditions and perhaps answer questions such as, what makes Chinese New Year so important that people in China have 2 weeks off for it? Thank you and have a good evening.
In America, and especially in our town, Marlborough, cultural diversity is appreciated and acknowledged. We learn about different traditions in social studies class, and as an entire district, show recognition for various holidays by receiving special days off.
However, although holidays like Christmas and Easter are recognized in this way, the three simple words Chinese New Year on the calendar mean nothing significant to those who do not celebrate it. It is gone the next day, hidden in the back of everyone's minds because people still had to go through the routine school or work day, and nothing culturally interesting was taught in class.
The Chinese New Year is a very important day, the day marking the start of a new year by the lunar calendar for the Chinese community. Yet the district does not give this special holiday much acknowledgement.
Additionally, it is not only China that celebrates the Lunar New Year. Numerous other countries, such as Singapore, Thailand, Indonesia, the Philippines, and Malaysia also observe the Lunar New Year. By not acknowledging this holiday, the cultures of other countries besides China also remain unobserved. This makes the many cultures seem less significant and inferior to those that are recognized, which allows for discrimination, especially among students. If the cultures are not appreciated and acknowledged, children could be taunted, made fun of, or bullied by others who do not understand them well. However, if they are acknowledged like all others, not only will these kids benefit, but those who do not celebrate will also learn about a different culture.
Chinese New Year celebrates the start of the lunar year. During this time, Chinese people will traditionally go home to spend time with family and friends. There's a new zodiac sign. Do you know yours? This year will be the year of the sheep. Nianga, a delicious treat made out of sticky rice and red beans, is served in the light of red lanterns decorated with calligraphy. Children get hongbao, red bags with goodies including money from their parents. Chunjie Wanhui takes place every year where songs, comedies, dance, and magic tricks entertain Chinese people. The common theme in this show is cultural appreciation and celebration. However, I and other Chinese students have never been able to understand this up to now. We have never been given the day to do so. This will not only benefit Chinese students. If a day is given for this holiday to be acknowledged, other students will become interested as well. It will be fun to learn about Chinese New Year in social studies class and the many cultural activities that take place. It will be fun for younger students to learn about the Chinese zodiac sign and its origins. This is the most important holiday of the whole year for Chinese people. In fact, in China, students may get 2 weeks off just to celebrate this special holiday. In America, however, students do not even receive 1 day off. We are just asking for this 1 day to enjoy with our families, have fun with our culture, and appreciate our heritage.
I will now be concluding the reasons Chinese New Year should be acknowledged in Marlborough. Chinese New Year, also known as the Lunar New Year, is a time of family union as well as a time of rejoice and pride in one's culture. The holiday, though celebrated in so many countries throughout the world, is surprisingly not recognized in Marlborough, a place of cultural diversity. We wish to make Chinese New Year established as an official holiday for citizens of Marlborough. Marlborough's population of Asians are increasing at a rapid rate, with almost 18% of the total population as of July 2012. So it will be reasonable to recognize their main holiday in this district. This recognition will also bring convenience for families who have difficulty in dividing their time between celebrating their culture and work routines. In addition, this change will allow the spread of Chinese culture throughout communities, educating people of other backgrounds, new cultures. Not only will this promote an enjoyable learning experience, this knowledge will reduce prejudice, an issue we continue to observe in even our own school, and lead to tolerance of people in varying backgrounds. This is why the Chinese New Year should be observed as an official holiday. Chinese New Year is a truly significant holiday, as it welcomes a new year of good fortune and prosperity. This holiday represents the Asian culture as well as its traditional values. By acknowledging this holiday, we are opening the door to a new cultural aspect of Marlborough. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, students. Cindy?
Can you get it? Jennifer Wexler.
Bonnie Gabizon, 2 Harvest Court. I'm going to put this down because I have to read. Okay. Good evening, Dr. Hibbs, and good evening to the board members. Once again, I'm here to speak about PARC. For the sake of any parents who are new to the conversation and are looking for information, I'm going to speak briefly about the big picture of what is happening in education and how we got here as a result of No Child Left Behind, Common Core, Race to the Top, and PARC. I will then speak specifically to refusing the test and what our district's policy is in regard to refusing the test. No Child Left Behind is the federal act that was passed by Congress in 2001 and led to the creation of the Common Core standards. In 2009, Race to the Top was created as a $4.3 billion contest for states to receive federal money, provided they adopt the federal Common Core standards. All but 3 states adopted those standards, sight unseen. They adopted a set of untested standards that would fundamentally change the way we educate our children before they were ever written. One of the requirements for the states to receive that money was to institute a state-mandated test that tests the Common Core standards. In New Jersey, and now in only 8 remaining states, students will be taking the PARC exam, brought to you by Pearson. As of May 2012, Pearson worked with 18 states in the U.S. as well as Washington, D.C., and Puerto Rico. In New York, Pearson held a $32 million five-year contract to produce standardized tests. In Texas, its contract is worth $500 million. In New Jersey, the state just cut a check for $108 million to Pearson. In a statement issued ahead of its annual shareholder meeting in April 2012, Pearson said that education business accounts for more than 60% of their earnings and sales, and the company's total revenue is up 12% this year to $1.16 billion. But Pearson's track record has been abysmal, with a long history of test question errors, incorrect scoring of tests, and illegal activities, such as the case of New York State, resulting in Pearson having to pay the state a $7.7 million settlement. So that's a brief description of the foreign company who is bringing us the PARC test, and now let's talk about the PARC test itself. PARC is poorly designed and confusing. For many of the sample released questions, there is arguably no answer among the answer choices that is correct, or more than one answer is correct, or the question is not arguably actually answerable as written. Why? The test consists largely of objective format items, multiple choice, and EBSR. These item types are most appropriate for testing very low-level skills, for example, recall and factual detail. However, on these tests, such item formats are pressed into a kind of service for which they are generally not appropriate. They are used to test higher order thinking. The test questions therefore tend to be tricky and convoluted. The test makers insist on answer choices, all being reasonable. PARC's online testing format is very problematic, especially for younger students. In the early grades, the tests end up being as much a test of keyboarding skills as of attainment in English language arts or math. The online testing format is entirely inappropriate for third graders.
Wrap up quick as you can, please. 3 minutes.
Okay, number 3, PARC is diagnostically and instructionally useless. 4, taking and preparing for PARC and other high-stakes standardized tests is replacing learning. Number 5, PARC will further distort curricula and teaching, and I have descriptions of all of these, and I'll provide it for you after, but I'd like to be able to finish.
You have
PARC
3
will
minutes.
further distort
You have 3
curricula and
minutes each.
teaching.
You can talk again.
Okay.
If we don't use the full
I
hour,
will skip through the...
if we don't use the full hour, You're welcome to come back up, or you'll certainly speak at the second public session, but I have to give everybody 3 minutes. That'd be fair to everybody.
Okay, that was a new, well, when I prepared my statements today, this is something that I didn't know about before. I've been coming to meetings and have never been instituted that 3-minute
Well,
warning.
there's a lot of people here at the middle
So
school tonight.
I
and
was
has to
not
get them.
prepared to speak for only 3 minutes, and I would like to be able to finish, and it
Well,
won't be much longer.
Well, you have to do 3 minutes, Bonnie.
Okay. Amy, can I take your time?
You can take our time at the end of the meeting. If there's time, Bonnie, after everybody has spoken, if there's time left in the hour, you can certainly take her time.
Okay.
But I have to give time for everybody that's here tonight to speak their 3 minutes within the hour.
How long do children get that spoke before her? Can you time that?
3 minutes each. They got
3 minutes each.
each, and they didn't use it all.
So then if we go up as 4 people, we get 12 minutes total?
Sure, 3 minutes each.
Does it matter if you're in a row or 3 minutes?
Okay.
And what about the other members?
Okay, I'll wrap it up and speak to what I really came to speak about tonight, and that is refusing the test, because that is what will be the game changer.
Bonnie, 3 minutes is up.
Are you really not going to let me say what I came here to say?
Well, we have 3 minutes each, Bonnie. Everybody here wants to speak for 3 minutes
Okay,
as
we've
well. We only
already-
have an hour.
I could have finished in the time that we're arguing over it. I came here to speak. I really appreciate being heard.
Well, you can come back up at the end before the hour is up. And at the end of the hour, if there's still time after everybody who wants to speak has spoken.
So if they come up here with me and continue to read my statement, but they're reading it?
Cindy's going to call the next person, whoever that is.
What's that? Okay, who's next?
Stacy Rothman. You need to say that it's been in there. Make the point that it's been in there.
Just so everybody knows, the policy is in there every week. The same policy exists. When there's more people that want to speak within an hour,
The policy is in
president
there
has
that
the
there's
right
3
to
minutes per person?
limit the time. It's in there. It's in the agenda.
It's never been adhered to at any meeting that I've been to, and there have been meetings
Okay,
with
well,
as many
tonight it
people.
is.
You always say take notice of the
Yeah.
public session
Right.
thing. He always says take notice of the public session statement, and he never,
all
you
right.
should be speaking, should never be
Yeah.
enforced because we never have this many people. We'll be here till 1 in the morning if we give everybody a chance to talk.
The policy is we have an hour for public session.
There's a second
Everybody
public,
needs a
Bonnie,
chance
come
to
back,
talk.
so we can hear you.
That's just, I just want to state my objection. I think that was, I didn't even get to say any of what I got here.
Everybody has the same 3 minutes.
You can take it out.
Am I okay? Can you hear me if I don't?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Stacy Rothman, 83 Steeplechase Drive, Marlboro. I have the utmost respect and appreciation for each of you. You see, I, like you, am a volunteer. I have volunteered countless hours as a member of the PTA Executive Board at Dugan. I am currently the president, where I find that I am spending much of my time as a counselor, ensuring parents that they are not failures and that there is nothing wrong with their children. It's hard to grasp the concept that failure is the new normal, or at least that's what it seems. I am also currently a speech-language pathologist specializing in autism. I have been an advocate for children with autism for the past 15 years. Advocating and fighting for the best possible education for these children has been my passion. I am now in the position where I must advocate for my own children because the direction of education in this community has been a growing concern of mine over the past 2 years. I come to monthly PTA-PTO scope meetings with Dr. Hibbs, where we share ideas, express concerns, and often problem-solve issues in the education community. Dr. Hibbs has always been respectful to all PTA presidents and receptive to our feedback. I find these meetings invaluable. I frequently ask questions and express my concerns at these meetings, but I have been asked by numerous parents and educators what are my feelings and thoughts with the changes in education. For this reason, I'm sharing my thoughts with all of you in the entire community. As PTA president, my first priority is to listen. I listen to the parents, I listen to the teachers, I listen to the administrators, and most importantly, I listen to the children. I have been listening over the past 2 years, and this is what I've come up with. As much as change can be difficult, change was needed in education. I support the idea of challenging our children by increasing our expectation and placing greater demands. I agree taking a deeper dive into topics to enhance the educational experience has value. But does that mean skip years ahead and teach children material at a level that is not developmentally appropriate? I believe rigorous curriculum is important, but does that mean we teach at a pace that does not allow teachers to reteach concepts that children are just not grasping? that has no time for teachers to teach creatively and students to stop and ask questions. I believe accountability is necessary to measure growth and development of both teachers and children. But does that mean over-testing our students with tests that children are frequently failing? Does failure equate rigor? Perhaps failing grades equates testing at inappropriate levels. Perhaps failure equates taking pause to say something's just not right. Instead of saying this is the new normal, perhaps we say this is just not working. You see, each parent here is concerned about a different aspect about what's going on in education. The park, the Common Core, the common assessments, and the common performance tasks. No two concerns may be the same. However, each concern is a piece of the puzzle. This puzzle contains many pieces with one large picture, which is the growing concern where education is headed. This is one large puzzle in which the pieces are just not fitting together. I understand that many directives come from the state, but there are things within your power to make decisions for the best interest in this community. So what am I asking? I'm asking that you take a closer look at our expectations for our children. I'm asking that you take into account that these are children with feelings and emotions, many of which are exhibiting anxious behaviors. I'm asking that you look at the amount and quality of testing. Are the frequency and rigor of the common assessments having favorable outcomes on our students? I am sure it is not the goal of this district to take away the love of reading and learning. Are we helping or hurting the children of Marlborough? Thank you.
Thank you.
Amy First Toland. No?
You could take a time at the end of the meeting if there's still time within the hour. Okay. Who's next? Amy?
Jennifer Wexler.
We didn't hold hers either.
You just don't want the parents that are here to hear.
Bonnie, you have to have the quorum.
I'm angry now, and I've never been angry personally. I've never spoken angrily, but I've heard others prepare what I want to say, and you should hear what I have to say.
You can speak at the end if there's still time, and you can speak at the second public session as well.
Jennifer Wexler, 46 Damascus Drive. I think maybe we need to have a refresher on bullying at this point. There are some questions that I have left unanswered from the last meeting that include looking for data that would be used as specific evidence in the usefulness of the common assessments, what students are doing in May and June since they have been finished with the park, the curricula aligns with the core is going to be assessed. What are we doing? Why bother with June? Responses that I received that I could not address at the last meeting included something Mr. Ballone said in reference to the disparity between close reading a text on paper versus a computer screen. His response was that students would receive scrap paper. Scrap paper is not a copy of a text for students to annotate. This is extremely troubling as a parent because he's the head of curriculum and he should understand the difference between scrap and a text. Your district lawyer mentioned something about children bring books into the testing area so they can read if they're not taking a test. The testing area is a secure location. I encourage him to review security procedures for testing. New items to address would include, what are we doing with these students who are not taking the test? Many parents would prefer that the students not even go to the testing site. Since you have prior knowledge of the students who are refusing the test, why are we even exposing those children to a testing classroom? You know they're not taking the test. Why are you having the students sit there until they are acknowledged as refusing the test in order to then remove them? So many of us would prefer that those students not even enter the testing site. Please address that. And when you do address that, if you could come up with some type of policy that you can put in writing and publish on a website so all parents understand what's going on, that would be extremely helpful. Common assessments, there are way too many holes and inconsistencies from school to school. There needs to be a clear district policy as to how those common assessments are being used. I would like to know, is there a common grading policy between schools where tests are worth whatever they're worth and quizzes are worth whatever they're worth and every teacher is using the common assessment as the same measure of a grade? There needs to be consistency with these. In addition, a common assessment can either be a benchmark or used to drive instruction. So, from my experience with my third grader, these common assessments are measuring knowledge after a unit has already been presented. That's not data to drive instruction, because that material has already been learned. So if 10 kids fail, they're not being retaught that information. That data is not used to drive the next unit. All you're doing is giving them a test that is assessing knowledge they should already know. Or using it as a benchmark to see if the teachers are teaching what they need to teach by a certain time. So there needs to be clarification. Is it a benchmark, or is it being used to pre-test kids for what we need to do? Last meeting, it was all over the place. It can't be both. So I would like clarification on that. And I would also like clarification on the consistency of the use of these tests. So many parents were upset because that common assessment was destroying their child's grade. I don't even know what they're worth. I told you last time, we don't even study for them. I think they're ridiculous. And I think that wraps everything up at this point, so thank you.
Thank you.
Amy First Tolan, 7 Jefferson Drive. This is not at all what I wanted to say today. I wanted to find out about the refusals. I wanted to find out why 6, 7, 8-year-olds are going to need to be in a classroom and address the teacher every single time and say, I'm not taking the test every single time, as opposed to putting a policy in writing and have it clear for all these parents and for the teachers so that they know what to do. They know the students that are refusing. Keep them separate. Don't have this 1 or 2 children in a room say, I'm refusing to the teacher every time. You're going to do right by us. You're going to put a policy in place where everyone already knows which children are refusing at every age. My son is 13. He has no issue standing up and saying, I'm refusing. For the 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds, is it necessary? Dr. Hibbs, really? For all these kids, every single time this test is being given, they have to say, I'm not taking it.
He'll respond at the end of the public session, Amy.
I have no idea why all these other districts are not making this difficult. And every step of the way, it is made difficult. Just make it easy. Make it easy for the children. Allow them to do what they need to do, and don't put them in that position. Don't put my 13-year-old in that position. Don't put the 6-year-olds in that position. In regard to my child, he's one of the many across the state who's been dragged into this void between the old and the new testing. He's been taking the NJ-ESC for the past few years, and I've seen the changes that have been implemented during the hasty transition to the park. I've seen the homework change this past year, and I've seen my son struggle to try to conform to this new way of thinking in preparation for the exam, whereas children coming into the public school... Thank you. Want me to start again?
No.
Whereas children coming into the public school system currently are being taught the Common Core from the beginning of their schooling, my son is now being taught that the instruction that he has received up until this point is no longer valid. Not only does he need to learn new objectives, absorb the new information, and meet new expectations and goals, he has to learn a whole new way of communicating the information using different answers formats through broad testing interfaces. I don't think our children should be treated as guinea pigs. The park has never been field tested, and despite proof that educators across the nation that this test is riddled with confusing questions, software glitches, and unfamiliar material, and yet it is still being forced upon our youngest citizens, carrying the weight of teacher evaluations and potential graduation. As citizens, we have been bullied by the state for far too long. Our teachers have been beaten down by a thankless system and disrespectful leaders, and now we are losing these amazing teachers at a record pace. Our kids are being farmed out for profit to the highest bidder, and they're referred to as product. As citizens of a country founded on freedom and innovation, we can no longer accept the inferior quality of life in this state. This is our home, these are our families, this is our government, and our future, not a business, and it's not a venture, and it's not an experiment.
Need to wrap up, Amy?
You want me to come back at the end?
Sure, at this time. the second public session as well.
Did I get my point across?
Yeah. Thank you.
Derek Chang.
My name is Derek Chan. My home address is 19 Collin Road, Marlboro, New Jersey. Good evening, Dr. Hibbs and board members. I'm the principal of local Fidelity Chinese School. I come from Taiwan in 1999, and now I'm a proud U.S. citizen and a proud Marlboro resident for the last 10 years. My older daughter goes to Marlboro High School, and my younger one goes to Marlboro Elementary School. We've been blessed with Marlboro Blue Ribbon school system, and the township's administration, and the 3 wonderful Chinese schools in the school districts. And my children has been attending to learn Chinese culture and language in the last 10 years. So as a lot of people, several people mentioned in previous speech that around 18% of the population in Marlboro are Asian. And we're going to celebrate Chinese New Year in coming February 19th. And this convivial occasion really brings the families, neighbors, and friends together. In my school, we celebrate Chinese New Year every year by having a Chinese New Year party as well as a performance. And we also reach out to all the communities by having an off-campus performance. This year we're going to have it in Marlboro Elementary School and Marlboro Middle School here. By doing that, we wish to spread love and happiness of our Chinese New Year to other societies. Designating Chinese New Year as an official school holiday will enable students to spend time with their families and following our culture. Apart from China, the day is also celebrated in several countries: Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and even Philippines. The Chinese New Year is a tradition that goes back to 7,000 years. I'm glad we're teaching our children and to appreciate our cultural tradition in which we honor our ancestors and recognize the contribution of, in this country, and also to recognize the contribution of Asian Americans to this country and to Marlboro Township. So it is crucial for us to maintain our cultural identity. The establishment of making Chinese New Year a school holiday really identify us, Asian American, as an accepted part of society. Our great nation understands the importance of recognizing and paying tribute to citizens of different origins. In America, we celebrate our uniqueness, accomplishment, and contributions of many groups. The holidays in our school calendar already consist of holidays from different cultures, and I'm sure there definitely has room for Chinese New Year too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Brian Yao.
Did I pronounce it right?
Okay.
Good evening, board members and everyone that have arrived here. In order for New Jersey to be fully represented by the diverse cultural backgrounds of its residents, we must acknowledge and respect the celebrations of our vast communities. Before Chinese New Year is permanently buried and forgotten, we must unearth its celebrations once more. The Chinese New Year is a time of family reunion and feasting. By celebrating the Chinese New Year, all students can experience the grand festivities of the holiday, including the elegant dragon dancing, the exotic food, and firecrackers. Students of our district should be relieved from their daily classes to celebrate the Chinese New Year, otherwise known as the Lunar New Year. Over 20% of the Monmouth County student body consists of Asian American students. most of whom are forced to choose between spending time with their family and going to school. Those who notify their school of the holiday will still receive an absence in their record, even if it is an excused absence. Furthermore, if holidays of other backgrounds can be implemented into the school calendar, then there is definitely enough room for the Lunar New Year. It is time for us to follow in the footsteps of New York City and San Francisco, cities that have already established Chinese New Year as an official holiday. Thank you.
I can finish those the names on the list.
Connie Mo, now? I'm sorry.
Spell it correctly. Good evening, dear board members. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. My name is Connie Mo, and I've been a Marlborough resident for 20 years. And my husband and I, we both were born in China from the same small town. And we've been in the United States for more than 20 years. And we love being here. We love this land. And both of my girls, I have two daughters. The elder one is a college freshman this year, and the younger one is the sophomore in Marlborough High School. And both the girls were born in Marlborough, and we love being the Marlborough residents. We love this small town. It's beautiful. We love the recreation center and the park, and also we love the school district. It's very well known, and we love the teachers. They're so nice. They're marvelous. And both my girls, they've been growing up in Marlborough happily for many years, and I could testify this. And even though I've been in the U.S. for more than 20 years, but I've never forgot my hometown and the traditional culture. So I hope my kids, they will not forget about the Chinese traditional culture. And so I taught my girls when they was little, I taught them the Chinese traditional dance and the beautiful songs. They just love it. And my elder girl also loved the Chinese knitting, so she taught the little kids in Huaxia Chinese School as a TA for 3 years after she graduated, learning Chinese in the Chinese school for 9 years. And everything's so wonderful, beautiful. Only one thing I hope there could be improvement, because every year on the day of Chinese New Year, I had to let my girls went to school. Actually, I was very struggling. Should I let them stay home and celebrate a wonderful holiday? That's the greatest holiday they learn from the books and the culture. They wish they could stay home with us. We could spend more time for the wonderful feast. And even I could invite my father-in-law who lives in New York. He's already 86 years old. Every year he wished he could give the red envelope to his granddaughters. That's a symbol of fortune and love in the Chinese traditional culture. But since my girls grew up older...
Need to wrap up, ma'am.
All right, quick. So I wish they could just stay home and enjoy the holiday with us and with my father-in-law and the relatives. So I know this year is hopeless because Chinese New Year is approaching on day 19.
You need to
I do wish next year
Okay.
then the school would be closed. As all my Asian friends
You
here,
have to
yeah.
wrap up.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Matthew Liu.
Good evening, respectable board members and all who have gathered today. My name is Matthew Liu, and I currently attend Marlboro Memorial as an 8th grader. Today, I want to address the issue of Chinese New Year. Should there or should there not be a day off? Well, I suggest allotting a break during Chinese New Year to excuse the students of this district to celebrate this holiday. To keep it simple, through having a school day on this occasion, by the time I arrive back home from school and brush away all my homework and other activities, I barely have any time left to enjoy the holiday with my friends and family. As a result, I have limited knowledge of this tradition, don't have time to experience the dances, shows, and foods that are customary during the occasion, and I gradually lose interest over time in even celebrating my own culture, as all I know is getting red bags, or hongbao, as they say, and dressing up both myself and the house I live in pretty. Chinese New Year is a day to be celebrated with one's whole family and friends to enjoy the Chinese culture. By restricting this time, how could we do this? As it says, 1/5 of Marlboro's residents currently celebrate this holiday. How much less people would it take how much less people would have to celebrate this? Thus, I wholeheartedly request a break from school on this yearly event. Thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of this evening.
Thank you.
Grace Eng.
Hi, my name is Grace Eng and I go to Marlboro High School. You probably have no clue what I just said. That's okay. I'm sure nobody did because, well, I'm not very good at speaking Chinese. But to the wonders out there, I said, hello everybody. I don't think we should have school on Chinese New Year. You see, Chinese New Year is filled with amazing cultures and happiness. Every year on Chinese New Year in my family, we play games about culture and learning new words. I can't speak for others, but each family has different customs that they do. Just like every other holiday like Christmas, we all open presents and spend time with our family. However, it's the small family things that really make up the holiday. In today's society, culture is fading, even though it is part of what we are all defined of. As people, we should celebrate our origins and the customs that come with it. As I participate in community events, participating in Chinese and regular schools, it is apparent that the Asian ethnicity is strongly represented in Marlboro. The student population of Marlboro High School is 20% Asian. This equates to 300 students having to choose between missing school and being behind or missing spending time with family to an important cultural holiday. I hope you take this into consideration. Thank you.
Eng. Alice Eng. I should make a disclaimer. I can't do this. You can pull it out.
I can pull it out. Good evening, Dr. Hips and board members, and ladies and gentlemen, all the children are here. You're all eloquent. Can you hear me now? Okay, all right. I'm going to speak from a personal point of view because I actually relate more to the children here than to many of the parents. I've been a resident of Marlboro Township, Alice Eng, 29 Pueblo Court, Morganville, since 2000. We moved here from Northwest Jersey, originally from Manhattan to Queens to North Jersey to here. My family's been an active part of the community, and my son was enrolled and graduated from the Chinese as a second language program at Fidelity Chinese School last year. He's a college freshman now. So we went through all these years not having Chinese New Year's off, but I'll tell you why I relate to the children so much. I originally declined to speak last board meeting because I wasn't sure I was as passionate as the parents who had children in school right now. However, I found myself feeling and relating to them because their speeches reminded me a lot of when I was growing up in New York and how I felt. I was always envious of the children whose parents allowed them to take the day off. And it was an absence. It was always an absence when I was growing up. That shows you how old I am. But this was one of the most important holidays, and I was lucky enough to have parents at home who taught me some of the traditions. But I always wanted to, it was one of my greatest wishes, to stay at home and be able to make those pastries and prepare the dinner and really visit family on the day, even though it's a holiday that lasts for quite a long time. But that day was particularly important. My mom sent me to school because she was one of those tiger moms who made me go to school unless I was dying. So I was also pretty healthy, so I went to school and got perfect attendance. My son, I tried to impart the same kind of structure in terms of him going to school, so I had to make that decision, keep him home for Chinese New Year's or send him to school. I sent him to school. However, my wish was that he could have experienced what I did on some days when Chinese New Year's fell on the weekend and I was living in New York. Going into New York for the Lion Dance, hearing all the festivities, celebrating all those things with family, and getting a lot of red packets with good luck money from friends and family who were passing by and visiting. When I was first here when I first moved from Northwest Jersey, I was very comfortable here because I felt like I moved back home. There was such a huge Chinese community. And I was very delighted to find that there were 3 active Chinese schools in town. So I enrolled my son in Fidelity Chinese School to give him great exposure to his culture.
I need you to wrap up, ma'am.
Wrap up? Okay. What I'd like to say is that I really feel that with the community, with our schools, having a tradition of giving back to the community by sharing our culture, bringing performances to the different schools on Chinese New Year's, it shows our pride in our culture and how much we feel we want to share with others. I'd like to see us celebrate. I'd like to see us celebrate not only the performances with our teachers and students, fellow students, and craft projects, but to have them all celebrate the day with us. Thank you.
Leon Lee.
Good evening, dear board members. My name is Leon Lee, living in 412 Georgetown Drive in Marlboro. I thank you all for giving me the 3 minutes for the speech and representing myself and my family in the matter of petition of the Chinese New Year holidays. I'm not going to repeat how important Chinese New Year is to our Chinese community and to even my family, to my kids, because I've been living in the town for 20 years, been country for 20 years, living in here for 15 years, and I love Marlboro, and I'm proud to be American, U.S. citizen. Now, what I want to say is how much I appreciate the system to allow us to do what we want to do and express ourselves to what we want to achieve. And we've been the role model. We want every parent to be the role model to our kids to outspeak, and I'm proud all the kids to come out to speak and speak up. And the system is allowing us, and I appreciate all the board members taking a serious consideration for what we have asked for. By the way, my parents just coming from China for visiting last week, and I told them, hey, we have this petition going on. Every people in the town, we tried to put together and presenting to the board member to ask for a holiday off in the school system. They said, that's impossible. But I try to tell them, anything is possible in the country. If something you want, you go out and speak and present your best reason for it. Never give up, and it's going to happen. So again, also I want to mention, I'm appreciating all the people and my friends, even from out town, like some people from Manalapan, some people from Freehold, they come out to support us for this activity. And so just you see all the other people from other town nearby, they're watching us. And I know our town is a great town. It's most diversity. and all the board members, they're very open-minded. So I appreciate your time and the serious consideration, and I want to, again, be the role model for all the kids. If something you want, you insist, you don't give up, good things going to happen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Oh, boy. She left. No, I can't even understand the writing.
Go to the next name.
Can you come down here a second, Mrs. Chen?
Change what you do.
Sorry, Alex.
I am so sorry, but...
Oh, my goodness. Hi, my name is Sue Alex. I live at 50 Stevenson Drive in Marlborough. Good evening, Board of Members, Dr. Hibbs, parents and students. Thank you everyone for coming out tonight. What are we doing here? I want to talk about why we're here and what's important to us. Family, right? It's important to you. It's important to everybody here. At the end of the day, I'm going home to my family. And, we work hard. We go to work, the children go to school, do their homework, we have long commutes. And at the end of the day, this request is for the family. We work, to provide them a better living, better education, better vacation. So having Chinese New Year as a day to spend with family is about building relationship, our bonds with the family, and building memories that we'll never have. No matter how hard we work, day and night, we're not going to buy time and we're not going to buy memories with our families. So just to give you a little background, I was born in Hong Kong. I came here more than 30 years ago, and I remember the festivities in Hong Kong. It's a big celebration, big feast. It really warms your heart. It really is such a happy time for everybody. And now coming to America, being so integrated with the culture, I feel like I'm trying to grasp what's left of my culture to still instill it in my family and my children. My parents took a big risk. They sold everything and they moved to America. I have 5 siblings, so we were from the age of 11 to 1, and they came here to America to start a new life here. And I never took such a big risk in my life before, except for marrying my husband. I could say that, he's not here. But it paid off. It paid off. They came here. They live my parents came here, brought us up in this free country, and it's beautiful. And it paid off for me. I'm living here in Marlborough, raising my 3 beautiful children that my husband gave me, and that's all they know is Marlborough. And I'm very blessed to be here in this country and in the township of Marlborough. We love it here. One time my husband and I talked about moving, and all 3 of our children rebuked us. They knocked us down. They said, "How could you?" But so it was a vote of 3 to 2. We lost. Did I say lose? I meant gain. We gained because we love it here. My husband and I, we love it here. Moving wasn't even an option for us. And at the end of the day, what are we asking you? We're asking you to take a risk and take a chance. What have you got to lose? And, there's going to be conflicts. What about this, that? It'll work itself out. I mean, it always do. There's a way, right? And, there's a lot of loss and everything. But anyway, to wrap up, at the end of the day, I'm going home to my family, and we will leave the decision to the wonderful hands of the Board of Ed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
Have we exceeded the 60 minutes, Cindy?
You have 3 minutes.
We have 3 minutes left. Does anybody else that hasn't signed the clipboard yet wish to speak? We have 3 minutes left, Bonnie, if you're here.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to skip to the end and then go back if I have to. The fight against the selling out of our children is being fought on the federal, state, and local level. Last week, I attended a public session in front of Governor Christie's Commission on the Use of Assessment. Commissioner Hespy was there for 6 hours as parents and educators relayed their concerns and experiences. I'm not at all hopeful that any positive changes will result from that. In fact, all indications are that the state will use this commission study to agree that there is too much testing, only to do away with teacher and district testing in favor of cementing a one-size-fits-all state-mandated money-making scheme of a standardized testing program, taking more control of education away from the local level and placing it in the hands of the state and federal government. Still, I want to add that I was quite disappointed that I did not see any members of our board or administration present there, if only for the purpose of listening and being informed on the subject at the state level. I'll wrap it up and speak to what I really came to speak about tonight, and that is refusing the test, because that is what will be the game changer. I'm refusing the time spent on test prep. I'm refusing the skyrocketing costs and the narrowing of the curriculum. I'm refusing the high-stakes pressure on students and educators. I'm refusing the false narrative that labels our schools as failing and in need of repair. Thousands of parents across the state are refusing the test. The number is growing. The very pertinent question is, how will these refusals be handled? It's a question that is causing much confusion both at the state and local levels. The state has clearly said that it is the district's discretion as to how to accommodate those refusing the test. I'm happy to inform you that to date, 57 districts in New Jersey have officially instituted written policies that respect the parents' right to refuse this test for their children by providing in writing a plan for a supervised, non-punitive, alternative environment for students. 57 districts. Until now, that request has been denied in Marlborough, with the only explanation as to why being we're not required to. That's not good enough. Today, I sent my refusal letter, and I received a call back and an email, and I'd like to thank Dr. Hibbs for his prompt response. In those conversations, you indicated that my son would need to initially, quote, sit for the test, and upon his verbal or nonverbal refusal to take the test, he would be respectfully removed from the testing environment to the library or some other location. I view this as a small step in the right direction. I'm much in favor of the alternate setting. However, I find it unacceptable that children as young as 8 will be put on the spot in front of their peers and forced to demonstrate their refusal, either verbally or non-verbally, when their parents have already submitted written letters of refusal to their teachers, principals, and you, the superintendent. It's my suspicion that this procedure will be for the purpose of for some technicality or loophole that allows you to claim the test was administered, but my child did not answer any questions. My point is that I want my refusal to count, to be my protest against everything I spoken about or didn't get a chance to speak about. I request that you adjust the procedure you detailed to me so that the students are taken out of that alternate setting without ever setting foot in the testing room. I urge you to introduce a policy or a resolution in writing detailing Marlborough's policy for refusals and eliminating all the confusion, as 57 other districts have done. I submit to you an example of such a resolution passed by the Delran Township Board of Education. It is one that acknowledges both sides of the issues, details the state mandates that the districts are bound to, yet clarifies any confusion as to how refusals will be handled. In Delran and 56 other districts, those parents and students are being treated in a way that respects their constitutional rights and treats them with dignity.
Can I wrap up quick, Bonnie, please?
Done.
Thank you. Okay, that'll conclude our public session. We'll respond to the request, as we discussed Chinese New Year, as we discuss our calendar. But Dr. Hibbs, you respond to other questions now that you can. I appreciate it.
Okay. To respond in general about the phone calls that I attempted 22 phone calls today. I've received 22 letters or emails from parents outlining the fact that they don't agree with Park for whatever reason, and I'm not saying that disrespectfully, just for a reason. And I wanted to make sure that I personally touch base with each and every one of these parents, and I actually got 21 out of 22, and I did convey the message that Bonnie said. In my opinion, the regs and the code of the state is very clear, and I'm interpreting it simply as your superintendent. The Commissioner of Education sets the educational program. That educational program includes standardized testing. Whether we agree with it or not, all children are required to sit. There is no opt-out, and what I did convey to every parent was I led every conversation by saying the exact same thing, which was, I fully appreciate your role as a parent. I am not going to stand in the way of that, and I understand that you have a job to do. And I hope that you respect, unfortunately, even though we disagree, that I have a job to do. So my mandate is very clear. All students have to sit. So, in my opinion, all these districts that are accepting a letter that are allowing parents to opt out, and use whatever word you want, refusal, opt out, are not doing it the way that they should. Now, in order for you to get what you want, it's very simple, and you have my word, my pledge, that I will treat every child in this district with the utmost respect and dignity that I would have my own kids have. All we need is a child to say, I don't want to take it, or they simply don't have to take it. That, to me, and when you drill down into the park handbook, they use the word misconduct, but it's specifically named procedure for dismissing a child. Misconduct is actually termed that way for refusing to take the test. That's how a child is removed from the test. It's the only way. So whether or not you agree with me, I'm not telling you to. I fully appreciate all of your feelings, and I know education, especially nowadays, is all about feelings. I simply am tasked with a job and an interpretation. My interpretation is that a letter of your refusal is not enough. The child has to actually refuse. What I can do is make sure that every child in this district is treated with respect. But when we talk about Delran or Princeton or Haddon Township, in my opinion, they're not doing what they should be doing, as evidenced by the October 30th memo from the Commissioner of Education. That's that one. As far as Jennifer's questions, what do we do in May? We teach in May. We teach all the way through. That's what we do. I can certainly have Mr. Balone call you about the disparity between close reads. Children do have the ability of actually writing and reading. I understand your point about annotating. It's not going to be quite the same, but Park does have a lot of tools to annotate. So in my opinion, you can still operate a close read on a computer. Books in the testing area, Mr. Zimmer did say that. We are not allowing books in the testing area, absolutely. New items, we talked about students who don't take the test. Common assessment grading, I'm going to have Mr. Balone call you. Common assessment grading is actually very consistent across the district. And you said it wasn't consistent. It's very consistent, but I'll be happy to have Mr. Balone reach out to you and answer all of these questions. Mrs. First Tolan, you talked about the refusal as well. I think those are the questions that I can answer right now, Mr. Olansky.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Kindergarten Complement Program.
Okay. In the green notes, we talked about the tuition rate and how we think that it should stay the same. So I think what's in there is pretty clear. It's $5,000 per student. It will not generate that much revenue for the 15-16 school year. It will approximately $9,776. I feel as if that, you know, in the climate that we have and trying to explore full day K, I think it would be a mistake to raise tuition rates at all. So I'm recommending that stay the same and that we can get our forms out and publicize it ASAP so that parents can make plans.
Okay. Board discussion? Anyone? We okay? Anybody? Okay. I guess we're okay. Okay. Say no.
So I will take care of the forms. Cindy, I think that's either Liz or Therese that will update, and then we will put that on Facebook, we'll put it on the website, and we'll do several blasts out to the community.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'll continue discussion of the 15-16 school year calendar. I'll open up to the board to discussion. We had many people come and talk to us tonight, so I'll open up for discussion of the calendar. Anyone like to speak? Okay, I guess I get to go first. Huh? Okay. I'm looking at you. So, first of all, I'm going to applaud everybody here for coming out and speaking of your culture. I understand culture. My grandmother came from Russia. She came through Ellis Island. taught my mother our culture. My mother taught me our culture. I teach my children our culture. It's a great thing, and I really do applaud the community, the students, for their care about their culture. The issue that I have with the Chinese New Year is, I get that it's 22%, but as a board member representing all the students in our district, I have to think about the other 70% of students and what their culture is, and what what things they celebrate. And to me, we have to make sure we're fair to everybody. To me, it's not about how many people are going to vote for me next year. It's about my integrity and what I believe in for this country. We live in a country where we love diversity. We love all our cultures, and we celebrate all our cultures. And so this board, for me, anyway, my vote, I won't speak for the board, for my vote, it would have to be for something that celebrates all our cultures, maybe a multicultural day, where Dr. Hibbs would not necessarily be on Chinese New Year, but it would be a multicultural day on a pro day, where you would know on the calendar, up ahead, what day was Marlboro Multicultural Day, so you can all take off from work if you choose to do so and spend time with your children, and everybody can explore their own cultures. And those are my reasons. Again, I think it's a wonderful thing that you come out here and represent, but I have to also represent all the students in our district. And I can't look at the 1% student and tell that one student that you're not important because you're only 1%. That 1% student needs to celebrate their holiday as well, or their culture as well. And I simply can't think of a way to walk into this building tomorrow, if I made a Chinese New Year, to tell the 1% or the 15% or the 30%, your culture is not important just because you're not 22%. And so to me, I would be in favor, my vote would be for a multicultural day, could be on our pro day, at a whatever it is, wouldn't necessarily be on Chinese New Year, whenever that would be. And every culture can then plan ahead, take off, and celebrate their individual cultures. And that's my words. I'll leave it to the rest of the board.
My talk.
Go ahead. Just got to pull the mic forward so they can.
Sure, okay. Yeah, I just express my opinion too, right? The Marlboro, we have, I'm in one of the multicultural day committee members. So every year, has been we, join the diversified culture in Marlboro for like say 3-4 years, right? When we see, so in the current situation, right? As we all know, right, in Marlboro right now, we have all the 3 Chinese schools use our facility during the weekend. So the people use our facility financially contribute to our Marlboro financially too. Also, we have also the Asian market in our Marlboro too. So that's really symbol to how big a population our Marlboro is, not only for Chinese people, but also for all the different, population, ethnic group. To this point, the schools open, we do depend the population, how many people. For instance, if we have 20 people, student, we will not go to school. So school may even go to shut down for close for one day. So to this point, we, in the comparison to other township, from like Homedale, Princeton, in the Melbourne or other township, they already, had some, Chinese or Lunar New Year holiday in place already. They are as about the education as in the discussion. So in the other side to our community, so we could use our professional holiday as our Chinese New as a staff development, because all the teachers near to the February, right? They need a 1 day for them professional development, and they need a day off. So we just we respect the culture, then say, why wouldn't you say they grant the Chinese or the Asian people with that day as respect their culture, also give our teacher 1 day as development. And thirdly, I was thinking again, the data we already, to look at, we cross New Jersey, cross the nation, right? Not Marlboro is not only one. Say we all the evidence. We cannot say one. Now, Mr. Lorenzi was not say 1% people say or 1% people want a holiday. Depends. If we say that we somehow we need to set our threshold. What's percentage of the population we have in the township? Now we can close down the school. So that's why the same thing as, we to look at our calendar, right? What is the percentage of Jewish? What's the percentage, Catholic or the Christian holiday? We can look cross over to see what we do for the holidays, right? That's what we try to say. That's my opinion, just my personal opinion.
Good, Deb. Debbie's going.
As much as I love coming, and I've actually brought my children before soccer, after soccer, I know I've seen many of you at the Chinese New Year events, and I truly enjoy coming, participating, and appreciating your culture. I don't know many of you personally, but I do know you from faces. Some of you know I have a Greek background, and I appreciate things that many of you said, ethnically diverse, multicultural, crucial to maintain cultural identity. I'm first born here. My parents made that jump, like somebody else said here. And I raised my children to be Greek, and they go to Greek school, they learn our language, they Greek dance. My older one doesn't want to, so don't say that. But they know it and appreciate it, and they know the language. We visit our home country. Proud to be a Greek American, as you know. I know that you guys use Chinese American. We do the same. But we have to appreciate all our cultures. And as much as I appreciate your culture, and I love coming to your events, participating, I'm going to give you one example of my own culture. March 25th, Greek Independence Day. Greece was in war for close to 400 years. It's not only a cultural major day for us, it's also the Feast of Annunciation. For those of you who are Christian, know that that's a religious holiday. It's my choice when we have school to take my children out either on that day or we celebrate on the weekends. I understand there's major cultural events that happen on specific dates, and honestly, I would say pull your children out. You can't take those memories away. I mean, that's your option. Of course, it's an unexcused absence, like you all say. It's an excused absence, but you're absent. I understand. They mean, like, they still get homework, they still have to make up things. And I'm sure that's what I'm gathering from you. Another thing is, what Joanne was saying before, those are religious holidays. They're religious observed holidays in America. They're federally observed holidays in America. We also leave out things like Veterans Day that is also federally observed, and we don't have off. I don't know if you all noticed in our calendar, but we don't have off. We are so limited, and we're trying to do so much. And you know what? It's not just about the 1%, it's about the 78% that's left. And I love the idea of Multicultural Day. So I don't know, Dr. Hibbs, if you're working something like that. I love it. I was also part of Multicultural Day at Marlboro High School for a few years, and I loved being a part of it. I think that we all need to keep our cultures. We're the melting pot. We're in America, and it's great. Our children need to know our culture backgrounds, and I really do. I'm smiling through this whole thing because I love hearing it. I live it all the time, and I love that you're here fighting for your culture, but we're in a position that we have to see the entire picture. So, I just want you to understand what my personal position is. But thank you so much for coming out.
First of all, I want to thank all the parents, students who are speaking out today for making Chinese New Year a holiday. We need a more participation like that. And also I appreciate that board member take a time to discuss this issue. And as a board member, we have to look at what is the impact to this district. Okay, so what we are asking, what the people are asking is to have a February where the Chinese New Year is, to have a one day off. If it's possible, I look at our calendar and we do have a professional development day on February in the calendar 2014 to 2015. So to me, that so many people, yes, they are minority, but they are about 20% of the Asian community. They are asking for one day in the whole school year to celebrate their most important, most significant holiday. So I thought we could satisfy such a request by moving that February Professional Development Day to the Chinese New Year. I think it's doable. And also the Chinese New Year is not only celebrated by Chinese population, but also Japanese and Vietnamese, Philippines. So given one day, you're going to celebrate 4 different ethnic groups. I think the Marlborough Township is a wonderful township. One of the quality is the diversity. So to request a school district calendar to honor those most important ethnic holidays or religions holiday, I think it's not a bad thing. If we can satisfy it, why not? And I checked the calendar, our 2014 to 2015 calendars, we have a 4.5 professional development days can be used. That can take care of multiple ethnic group. And also we have a 2 recess day period. And what I found out is in Melbourne, the Chinese New Year is celebrated. Most time it's a hit when they have their winter break. The winter break is during this Chinese New Year season. So I checked couple years calendar, it is during their winter recess. So I think if we could, I think that's not honor those important days for 4 ethnic group. If we can, I think we should. And also, to me, this request does not really impact our calendar days because we're using the professional development days.
Okay, thank you, John.
Not done yet.
Oh, you're not done?
Not
Okay.
done yet. Sorry, give me a little bit more time.
Are you done? Or not?
Yeah, I'm continuing now.
Okay.
Marlborough Town is very diversity town, and we do have programs we have a Marlborough Town is a sister city with the Yujiang Chinese city. So we do have a special relationship with the Chinese city. And we do, through this program, share the cultural differences between these two countries. We do have business exchange and students exchange programs. We also have a students exchange program with the Japan school. So I think to honor this Chinese New Year is add up to our diversity programs. So I hope, and also I study the neighborhood, Hongdale. Hongdale's Asian community population is lower than Marlborough Township, but they already have Chinese New Year as official holidays. And also in West Windsor and Princeboro Township, in their district, school district, they also have Chinese New Year as official holidays. And I hope, and also in New York City, many school districts have a high Asian population. They also have a Chinese New Year as official holiday. The reason they honor that, besides cultural diversity, the reason is because they're facing an issue that when the students being excused on the Chinese New Year, the teacher have concerns how to teach the class. For the students who are absent, they had to make up. And for students in the school, many students have a high population of Asian students. For those class, the teacher tended not able to teach the new subject, so they're doing review. So to using the school days and the resource more efficiently, they made a decision, make it a holiday. And recently in January, New York State Council just passed the regulation to allowing the school board of education to make Chinese New Year official day if they wanted to, if they consider their student population it fits such solution. So I think Marlborough Township has the population, has diversity cultural, and I think we should make it a holiday. It will honor our tradition, the diversity tradition. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Victoria?
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming out, and also to the park moms, thanks for coming out. We appreciate y'all. It's not that we don't, but, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking just the diversity on this board. Debbie's Greek. Mike says I'm Russian Jewish. I am Mexican American. I am 9 generations Mexican. My children always say they're 50-50 because they have half my husband's blood type, half my blood type. And I make a point to teach them my Mexican traditions. And being from Texas, we have a lot of food traditions, things we do at Christmas, things we do at Easter. And speaking of Easter, I was able to learn Debbie's Greek traditions at Easter, and I got to see how their food. I've been with Craig and his family and other families of mine that are Jewish, and I've learned their Jewish traditions. We are a very diverse community in Marlborough, and I think the cultures are rich. I have attended in my 5 years on this board, pretty much, I don't think I've missed one, every show at Dugan and at the high school. And I've seen the shows here at Marlboro Middle. I've seen the dances and the yo-yos and, you know, the dragons. And I'm looking forward to wearing my bright red jacket that Mrs. Ng brought me from New York. I can't wait. So I'm torn because, you know, I have friends that are Asian, very good friends. And sometimes, you know, when you're friends with people, you want to do things because they're your friends and you know it means a lot to them. But I was elected onto this board by everyone in the community. And I'm afraid if we start with one culture more important than another culture, we've opened a Pandora's box. What are we going to do when the next culture comes and says, I want my holiday, I want my Indian holiday off, I want my Muslim holiday off, I want, you know, I'm a veteran, I served, it's a national holiday, I think we should honor our veterans. They should learn about it. One of the speakers said that the children are not aware of the Chinese New Year until that day. But I can tell you, my 3 boys would come home with their red envelopes and tell me about the presentations that were given to them at the schools and about the dances. They know about your traditions and your cultures, and they appreciate them. But I agree with Michael. I cannot. And as sorry as I am, and I hope the people that are my friends will bring my friends after this, I believe I can't put more of an emphasis on one culture than the other. And I understand that Homedale does it. Homedale's a district in their own entity. They have a K through 12. I spoke to a board member in passing. Another friend said, oh, by the way, do you know my friend? She's a board member in Homedale. And she kind of gave me the background 3 years ago when it was instituted and why, in her opinion. And, but I agree with Michael that if we can do a multicultural day and celebrate all the cultures and all the diversity and maybe implement something into the school that's close to Chinese New Year that maybe is taught in our curriculum. But then I mentioned that to Mike. I whispered over to Mike, well, maybe we can do curriculum. He goes, but Vicki, how are we going to do everybody's curriculum? I mean, we have to put everybody's culture into the tradition, into the curriculum. We can't just take one. You know, it's tough. I have integrity, and I'm not going to stand here or sit here and say, I'm going to do this because I want your vote. I am here for the entire community of Marlboro, and I have people that reach out, and people have told me their concerns. I've heard you. And just like the park moms, you know, I'm not in total agreement with park. I'm not in total agreement with Common Core. And sometimes I'm sitting here shaking my head. I agree with what they're saying. But I also know what we as a board are charged with and what we need to do. And you know, that's preparing our children. And I think we can also prepare our children by teaching them the cultures and teaching them to love the diversity in our town. I moved to Marlboro 8 years ago. I love this township, and it has a lot to offer. And I don't... I think maybe a multicultural day, if Dr. Hibbs could figure that out, maybe we can rotate it within the months. I don't know what the answer is. I wish I did, but, and I'm sorry, but I don't know if I can just vote for one culture over the other one.
Thanks, Vic. What else? John?
Sitting here and looking at 2 completely different groups, I applaud your passion. I really do. I applaud the Asian community coming out and talking about their pride in their history and their culture. And I think the biggest thing I've heard, the word family, just constantly. And it's beautiful to hear. And it's commendable. And the children that came out and spoke so well and with passion. I think it's a great thing. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for you to come out and state your desires, as well as the families with Park. As a board member, it's a slippery slope because, as I said the last meeting, there's a lot of things I don't understand and I don't agree with. Content. I don't understand why they forced the older 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I scratch my head and I wonder, is it big business? I mean, there's a lot of things that you guys are saying that we hear very, very clearly. And I have a lot of opinions, and I listen. Oh God, 101.5 is just peppered with you guys, and I love it. I love to hear that, and I love to hear the passion that you also have. And don't stop that fight, because from a higher level, there's a lot of questions that need to be asked and that haven't really been answered. Where are we going? Where is the state taking this? And I don't know, but as a board member, my job is to make sure that the administration has the tools necessary to make sure the children have what they need, whether or not I fully agree or I don't. And I'm trying not to be an old war horse about education changing. I'm an older guy but I think Stacy said it very, very well. Education has to change over time, and I don't want to step in the way of that, but I want to make sure, Bonnie, it's done the right way, and I'm not sure of that yet. I'm really not. Am I confused and scratch my head as to why a parent should write I don't want my child taking the test, and this child still has to stand up? Well, I asked the question, and the answer is we're doing it. No, we're doing it. I can't go there with you, Bonnie, but we're doing it as it's mandated, and I could never ask administration to break rules. I don't think, I'm not comfortable with it, but I will assure you, and I said this the last meeting, and Dr. Hibbs knows, and I'm very passionate about this, that there should be no repercussions, and there should be no child that feels isolated or put out. We have to find a good way to do this, and I'm watching very closely. But at the same time, I have to watch, as a board member, I can't tell administration how to run the day-to-day operations. But I assure you, your passion and your fight and your good questions do not fall on deaf ears. Keep going in the direction you're going in from Ohio. Because again, this administration is following the rules that are being mandated from the state. Whether or not they entirely agree, I'm sure they scratch their head, because there are administrators that have children too. Thankfully, they're in younger grades. Again, when I'm concerned, I want to see how it all pans out for our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and I've said this openly. No child in Marlboro should be at a disadvantage to another district, because we're doing things that other districts aren't doing. And I keep asking that question. Our children, our 7th and 8th graders, are we going to get blocked out of VOCO schools because certain things count? And all I can do is keep asking the questions. And I appreciate that you guys keep the pressure, not the pressure, you keep asking good questions. Keep going towards the state. Keep that moving. And again, I'll stand here behind, I'm asking the same questions, but I will give you my assurances that your children will be treated, only because I trust that man implicitly, I do, with the utmost respect, and will not be punished or penalized. Keep the passion going, people. Thank you.
Yes, no?
Calendar, you have a comment about the calendar?
I have to tonight have a...
Can I speak?
Okay. Sure.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. Park parents, first, thank you for your comments and for your thoughts on it, and for your passion on it, and for everybody speaking about Chinese New Year. You heard my comments at the last meeting when you spoke. I have a couple of thoughts on that. My daughter is in the district up north, and they don't give off for the Jewish holidays because they don't have a lot of students that are Jewish. So they don't find the need to give off for the Jewish holidays. And I say that because if parents came out and all of a sudden that they had an influx of Jewish people that all of a sudden came into their community, I'm sure that they would come into a board meeting and say, hey, we want the Jewish holidays off. So I kind of feel that this is the other side of it, that the Chinese community in the 33 years that I've lived in Marlborough has grown considerably, and now you want to come and have Chinese New Year off. And I respect that, and I understand that, and I am for that. So I feel that your plan that has been brought forth by 2 board members to say, well, we have a day in February that is for the teachers, and maybe we can utilize that as a floating day, and maybe we can use that for Chinese New Year, is really a great alternative so that we wouldn't have to tack a day on at the end of the year. And I think the board should utilize that as an alternative plan, so that that would be a great way for us to look at it. To me, that is the best way. And since I looked at the calendar that you supplied to us that said that it is within 5 years, it really is only affecting 2 years. That's fabulous. You know, that's two days that we would have to float. And even if it was more, we're just taking this teacher's, I'm losing the word. In-service, thank you. I lost the word. This in-service day, and we're just reassigning it to coincide with Chinese New Year. So it's a win-win situation. It's a win for the Chinese community, and it's really not impacting us so that we would have to tack on a day at the end of the year. So I don't see where it's a great harm to our community. We have a large Chinese community. It's 20% of our community, and it's still growing. We have the 3 Chinese schools in town that are growing. We have more businesses coming into town. It is a growing community. When I first moved here, it was pretty much 50-50 in town. We had, or 45-45. It was 45% a Jewish community, a 45% Italian Catholic community, and it has now been much more diversified, with 20% being an Asian community. So I can't see why this hurts the board. So I'm going to make a motion that we include Chinese New Year in the calendar. We look at the prospects of using the in-service day as a floating day to coincide with Chinese New Year, and that we allow this Chinese New Year to be incorporated into our calendar. So, John, do you want to second this?
Yes.
Mr. Bunn?
I thought I already made it.
Hey, Mike, okay. So, Bonnie, just repeat your motion one more time so it's clear. I didn't repeat your motion just so it's clear.
Okay, so the motion was to incorporate Chinese New Year into the calendar for the 15-16 year and going forward, and that we would use the in-service day in February to look at the in-service day in February to flow to coincide with Chinese New Year.
Okay, fine. And John is second. So we'll continue our discussion. And discussion of the motion now, we still continue our discussion. So, Darren?
The one thing I want to say is that the reason we have the Jewish holidays off here is the same that certain areas such as Old Bridge have the Jewish holidays off. It's not because of the population here. It's because of the number of teachers, and it is because the number of teachers that need off is so large that there aren't enough subs to cover. Am I correct? Correct. I am correct, isn't that right, Cindy? And I know that's the same in Old Bridge where there are no Jewish people. So it is not about picking one culture to celebrate a holiday over another. It's a logistics thing. One of my concerns is, well, I think that, first of all, you guys did a beautiful job presenting, especially the kids. One of my concerns is something that somebody else brought up, is what's going to happen when people are going to start asking for Diwali off, when we're going to have to start, people are going to start asking for Ramadan off. Then how do we explain to those people why we are picking certain cultures over others? And that's just one of my concerns. And as a board, are we prepared to say we're choosing one culture over another? And I think we have to really think and tread lightly if we're choosing one culture over another.
Why are you so afraid of change?
We can't back and forth, Joe.
I'm not afraid of change. I'm afraid of treading lightly when we're going to have to, because when we start having all these other people asking for holidays, we only have so many days. Where are we getting the days from?
Hello, everyone. One of the two newest members of the board, this is a tough decision. And again, I may be repeating some things, so for that I apologize. It's just because I went last. I recognize a lot of faces out in the audience tonight because I've met a lot of you over the last few years, have attended some of your cultural functions and have been to the schools while the schools were in session, got to meet many of the parents and the children. And I have to tell you, not to insult anybody, but I'm more impressed with the children when they come up and speak than I am with the adults. And I think that's a great thing. I don't agree that this is a win-win or a win-lose or a lose-lose situation. As the gentleman to the right here had eloquently stated, that this is a great country, and it's always great to get up, and if you want something, the best thing to do is to ask for it. And I applaud that. I agree wholeheartedly with that. I took a bunch of notes as many of you were speaking because I wanted to make sure that I really understand what it is that you're asking for and why. And as Mr. Dwyer had said, the word family came up many times. It's about tradition, it's about culture, it's about respect to the elders, it's about respect to the current generation, it's about respect to past generations, and it's kind of passing the baton, so to speak, of your culture to your children. And I don't know of anybody in the audience or up here on the board that in their own way does the same thing for their families. The challenge here is, do we want to have Marlborough acting completely on its own? And that's, I think, for me personally now, that's a very tough decision because we are part of a district. We're part of the, we all kind of, several towns in the area, we roll up into the Freehold Regional High School District. And I think from a calendar standpoint, it would be a great idea if there's some way that we can have to work in conjunction with them to see if this is something that can be done across the board. I don't know that it should just be, at this point in time anyway, that it should just be Marlborough doing it. To the fact that we have a multicultural town, I couldn't have said that better. That's exactly what we are. And the board is a great representation of what that is. I would hope that any decisions that we make are not for future votes. I think it should be made for the best interests of every citizen, of every taxpayer, and of every child in this community. My personal feeling is that because this is not a religious holiday, it needs to be treated, and I would support the idea of being able to kind of incorporate this into a multicultural day. I think that would be a great alternative, and I think it would be a great compromise today. Those are my feelings. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Any further discussion on Bonnie's motion? Seeing none, Cindy, please call the roll.
I'm sorry, I need to ask a question.
Sure.
Is this motion to create a multicultural?
No, this motion is to,
Incorporate Chinese New Year into the 15-16 calendar by using a floating in-service day.
no, this is for that. We can discuss that after if you wish.
Okay?
Yes.
Mrs. Lou Rudell?
Yes.
Mr. Marshall?
No.
Mrs. Matos?
No.
Mrs. Dean?
No.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mrs. Ennie?
No.
Mrs. Cow?
Yes.
Mrs. Rosenwald?
Yes.
Mr. Lalunsky?
No.
Motion does not carry.
Okay, motion does not carry. Yes, Victoria?
Can I make a motion?
Sure can.
I'd like to make a motion for the Multicultural Day, that we institute that in the 2015-16 school year, and that we make it floating a Multicultural Day to honor all the cultures in the community.
Seconded by Debbie. So make that clear, be a multicultural day.
Question.
Yes.
Multicultural day, floating day, how we float it?
Okay, so multicultural day, if you're going to go by what I suggested before with Dr. Hibbs, as he makes his pro day every year, he picks the day of the pro day. Whenever he picks a day of the pro day, he makes a recommendation to the calendar to us. So he would recommend a pro day on such and such a day, and that would be called multicultural day. And we would, all the people in town would know a year in advance when that day would be on Second Bunny, would know when that day would be a year in advance so that they could take off from work, they could be home with their children and teach their own cultures, whatever that may be, to their children on that day.
What is the purpose of multicultural day?
Thank you. So we're going to...
What is the purpose of
No,
the
it's on pro
multicultural
day.
day?
It's on pro day. We'll call pro day multicultural day.
So we're good.
What is the purpose?
It's the purpose of multicultural day, so all our cultures, all our students can be treated equally and all celebrate their multiculture on that day with their parents, since their parents will know a year in advance by our calendar what day that day is, and they can take off from work and be home with their children. And each one can do their own culture. So that's the motion that you can't have it.
Michael.
What?
The
The motion for the new year already did not pass. This is something else we're talking about now. The motion for New Year did not pass.
Just so I'm very clear, I second the motion, being that it is a floating pro day that we will consider as a multicultural day. It may end up being in February, it may end up being in whenever
That's correct.
Dr.
right.
Hibbs puts it.
On a pro day.
On a
That's
pro
it.
day. I don't want any add-on days.
You have 3
That's
options.
what I want to make sure
Okay.
I seconded.
New Year every year.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Well, what this,
Lands on it
Wait,
if
wait.
it doesn't.
okay, I'm sorry, you continue.
It's okay, Jim. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
What
Go
I was
ahead,
just
finish.
ending with was that if it lands on Chinese New Year's, then it lands there. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Correct, Dr. Hibbs? As far as the option is concerned,
It could be where
My question is,
it could be on Diwali.
It could land anywhere.
land
We
anywhere,
typically,
I just want
as
that
per the
to-
contract, we really only have 3 in-service days
Correct.
to utilize, if that was a stipulation in
Okay,
the contract.
thank you.
can we make it, well, first of all, I'm still troubling. So, the purpose is to honor culture. Are we gonna to float culture by culture? Or we just arbitrarily? How did you make decision, Dr. Hibbs?
We just
On
made a
which day? Because this group is asking to celebrate their holiday. Now we have a multicultural day. How did you decide which day to pick?
We wouldn't. It's
I didn't-
celebrating them all.
I didn't decide any day to pick. This really just kind of came about now.
So, John, he wouldn't decide, he would decide a day to pick, like he
What?
does, he would decide a day to pick like he does every year, without anything in mind of whose holiday is when, whatever best fits the district for a pro day, and that day will be called Multicultural Day. That's the motion that's on the table. That's what we're discussing now. When we're done with that discussion, we'll take a vote.
All the cultures.
We will take a vote after we're done with that discussion, and that will either pass or it won't. If it doesn't, that's done too.
Don't let it pass either.
Does anybody else have any discussion on Victoria's motion?
Yeah, I have some
Joanne
questions.
does. Michael, Joanne does.
Yes, Joanne.
Kind of thank you for I come to you here, just the logical thinking, right? So before we make any decision moving further, right, we need to do more the research, right, to see why other townships like Princeton, like Melbourne, like Homedale, those are all great township. The school system is great too, right? Even New Jersey too, right? How they come up. So I think then we can make our decision. What's the next steps?
We
already voted.
We already made our decision, Joanne.
The Chinese New Year, the vote was taken. Okay.
But I'll respond to you, though. I'll personally respond to you. I'd never, ever in my life do anything because somebody else did it. I do something because it's the right thing for me to do, not because somebody else did. I don't run my business that way. I don't raise my kids that way, and that's how I am. That's all I got to say to you. John. You can't have a back and forth. You could speak in the second public session.
Michael, is there any way we can give Dr. Hibbs some time to look at this and shake it out, or is it something we got to vote on tonight? Multicultural? Excuse me?
Took a vote. I mean, you could...
No, the Multicultural Day.
We have to vote on the Multicultural Day.
Right.
We have a motion. We have to vote on it. Okay. I mean, let me answer you this way, John and Craig. Every year, we get a calendar. We have to vote on the calendar every year. So you will be voting on that Multicultural Day every year. Once it's in the calendar, he will come to you with it, and you will say, no, I don't want it on that day. Pick another day, Dr. Hibbs. You can't have it back and forth. Okay, you can't have it back and forth. I'm sorry. You might not like the decision, but it's the decision of the board. Okay, I'm gonna take. You understand that every year I have to have the quorum. Or I'm gonna have to call the meeting. I'm gonna have to have the quorum. Or I'm gonna have to call the meeting. So the motion's on the way. Is next week. Dr. Hibbs will present the calendar to us, and you can that time vote no if you don't like the day you pick. That's what you can do.
Since
Yes, Joanna.
Okay, since there is a request to honor the Chinese New Year, and there's a proposal for Multicultural Day, can we make it, I request to make it Cultural Day on the February 8th for next year?
That's not the motion that's on the table, Joanne. Does anyone else want to discuss Victoria's motion? Cindy, please call the roll.
Mrs. Rosenwald? Can you come back to me? Mr. Dwyer?
Are we allowed to do that?
Yes.
Are you allowed to do that?
You can go.
Mrs. Ennie?
Could you come back to me?
Guys, we can't.
I just...
Okay, let's call on somebody else.
Mrs. Cow?
No.
Mrs. Lou Rudell?
No.
Mr. Marshall?
Yes.
Okay, I'm coming back. Mrs. Rosenwald?
Come back to me.
I abstained. I think it's ridiculous.
Now you can't have it back and forth.
Mrs. Ennie?
Yes.
Mrs. Matos?
I'd like to say yes, but I want to explain. My yes is because we spoke about family tonight, ethnically diverse. We talked about many things that we could give to our cultures as a melting pot, so yes.
Mrs. Dean?
Yes.
Mr. Lalansky?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Okay.
Michael, can I say something?
Sure, say what you want.
Okay. let me explain why I abstained and why I say it's ridiculous. The children are getting the day off anyway. You will be home with the children will be home with their families. You can label it any way you want. So to call it on a calendar as Multicultural Day, the superintendent is going to pick the day the teachers will have the in-service anyway. So this board will put a label on the calendar that will say in-service. It means nothing. The children will be home with you anyway. To me, it is more important for the children to be home with their Chinese families to celebrate Chinese New Year's. Sorry, I think it is ridiculous to have it labeled multicultural. So I abstained from it because to me, it was ridiculous. So I claim ridiculous.
All right, we're going to move forward to the modular. We also have a discussion tonight, an update on modular classrooms. Dr. Hibbs, are they here?
Can we take a 5-minute recess so we can get set up?
Okay, we need time to set up for modular classrooms. Okay, motion for 10 minutes. Seconded by Tori, all those in favor? All right, we'll recess. All right, we're back in session. Dr. Hibbs, we have with us tonight Scott Steger from ModSpace. We're going to continue our discussion on modular construction. Sir.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me this evening. Like Mike said, my name is Scott Steger. I work for ModSpace. I have 22 years of experience in the modular construction industry. And ModSpace, they deal with both temporary and permanent modular construction. In this case, we're looking at permanent modular construction. ModSpace has been in business for over 40 years, has gotten their start in the modular industry by doing movie trailers on movie sets back in the early days. And then it has grown into this animal of classroom modulars as well as permanent modular construction. Oops. Our geographical scope throughout the U.S. and Canada, as you can see here on the map here. I'll try and move through this quickly. I know it's been a long evening. ModSpace has over $1 billion in assets and bonds projects with contracts values in excess of $50 million across North America. Our ModSpace investor is Calera Capital, a private investment partnership founded in 1991, formerly known as Fremont Partners. We have a lot of national customers, as you can see here, from construction, education, government, healthcare, and home builders. Some of these may look familiar to you. Our product ranges from commercial, construction, education, government, healthcare, and home builders. ModSpace has provided flexible temporary and permanent space for 1,000+ schools, educating over 9 million students. We do have a construction services team who manages jobs from start to finish and make sure that they come in on time and on budget. Excuse me. The standard classrooms meet all applicable codes and available in a variety of sizes. We work with your architect to determine the size and needs of the school district. The applications include complete schools, residential halls, laboratories, teachers' lounges, computer rooms, daycare centers, libraries, bookstores, lecture halls, and administrative offices. We can do cafeteria. What we typically do is we'll build the cafeteria conventionally, so we'll do it like a joint venture. We do the modular structure, and then we'll do the cafeteria conventionally. And the reason for that is, like we're in this room right here, is the high ceilings. We do have to travel over the roads, so we have to keep a certain ceiling height. The bridges and trestles, you have to get under them, so that gets built on site. We have value-added products, meaning, furniture. We rent or lease furniture, small appliances, office equipment. Not that you would need it, but holding tanks and portable toilets for more of our temporary applications. We do aluminum steps, ramps, and they're all OSHA compliant. We can provide you with security systems, insurance, and storage product. We do elevators as well. That's something that is conventionally built on site, and we build around the elevator shaft.
This has to include an elevator, I think.
Yes. On-site products and services, OSHA compliant steps, ramps, decks. We can do electric and plumbing hookups on site, pre-wiring for telephone and data lines, and permitting in the town. Some of the benefits of modular construction is accelerates project timelines. With modular construction, you stand a chance to save 10 to 15% cost savings as opposed to conventional construction. Other designs are, we offer design flexibility. We basically work with your architect, and work with the confines of the property. We can match existing structures or specifications of the existing school, whether that be brick or your flooring, your interior walls, your lighting systems. We eliminate high maintenance costs associated with aging buildings. We eliminate open construction sites and foster a safer environment. It allows for teachers to focus on teaching with no distractions of construction. And then we have temporary modular, which in your case, I don't think you're going down that road, but it would allow for flexibility to manage ever-changing student demographics and enrollments, and the ability to relocate to manage those population bubbles.
What about useful life? How long do these compare?
Same as conventional construction. You're going to have your maintenance. Your roof is typically the big one. Your mechanical systems, just over a 20-year period, those things need to be tended to. I don't know what siding, or if you're going with thin brick, or you're trying to match the existing school. Is that brick?
Yes.
It is? Okay. And what we would do is we would take some of that brick and see if it's still manufactured, same colors, and just match the school with that.
So the maintenance is really just the outside and the mechanicals?
Well, you're going to have your mechanical system.
Yeah, well, that's what conventional also.
Yeah, conventional, your roof, whether it's a rubberized roof or...
Fall apart.
No.
Right.
The biggest misconception is you drive by a school and it's overcrowded and you see these temporary trailers.
That's what they
That's
do.
not what, yes.
And that's not what we're talking about.
That's not what we're talking about.
Building on to the permanent structure.
Absolutely not. It's the same materials as conventional construction. It's just a different methodology. It's being built off-site. At the same time, your foundation's being built, and that's where there's a big time savings, because you have two phases of construction happening at once. As I was talking about time savings, you may already know about this, but speed to occupancy. You can see with traditional construction up top, you have your design, your engineering, your site preparation, and then your construction. With modular, you have your design, your engineering, and then your site preparation and building construction and installation. That's all happening at once. So you stand a chance to have your building, just to give you, for example, if a project takes 12 months, your job's going to get done in 6 months. Okay. A lot faster. This is the process. In a brush overview, you have drawings and specifications that are generated from our factory. The plans are then reviewed and approved by the client. Once approved, you go into production. We start the site work, including site grading, completion of the perimeter and foundation system, and initial utility runs. While this is going on site, At the factory, you have your modular components that are constructed, and they're all pre-wired. All your lighting fixtures are going to be in there, your siding, your ceiling. We try to get it 80% complete before it ever ships to the site. Once at the site, you have your building sections delivered and then crane set on top of a foundation. Typically, if you have 30 units that need to be dropped, they can be done within a 5-day period. Final finishes could include brick, exteriors, and site-built roof. Your utilities will be done on site. Those are the items that would be done at prevailing wage. Where the cost savings comes in, where you could save 10 to 15%. When we're building at the factory, you don't have to pay the prevailing wage. We pay the standard wage rates. It's not until we get to the site.
That's what saves us.
That's what saves us, yeah. Right.
Compared to the construction.
Right, because 100% of that job's being done at prevailing wage on site. Your modular components, they're being done at standard wage rates at a factory.
Those prevailing wages that kill us.
Yeah. And also when you're doing modular construction, all the, like 2x4s, flooring, your ceiling tile, that's all stockpiled and bought on a national basis. So you're getting more savings out of, buying the materials in bulk.
Custom style.
Once the building is seamed and sealed, you do have finish work that needs to be done, like your case work. It usually takes approximately 18 days, depending on the size of the building. The facility completion includes final site grading, concrete work, landscape. This project took 121 days once the plans were approved. It's pretty fast as compared to conventional. This is a case study of a 76,000 square foot building completed in 150 days.
But that's actually not one building.
No, that's multiple buildings, as you can see here.
So do you have a building that's more like the one we're asking
like
you
yours?
to build?
Absolutely. This is just their idea and what they wanted.
No, I know, but you didn't give us a building you gave us buildings that were smaller, and then you gave us this, which was 76,000 square feet, but you didn't give us anything that was really like what we're building.
Well, I had that material.
I would have thought you would have given us something that was more like something we would build.
If I had a little more time, this was kind of a short fuse.
You can get it to us though, right?
Yeah, well, I could do a more, absolutely, more detailed from our construction services team. Here's another case study here. Oops, let me back up. And this is smaller, 3,600 square feet. And this was done in 63 days. And that's the end of the slides. I know you had some questions about modular. Any questions or concerns?
I know you can get us a building like what we're building, but can I ask you a question?
Sure.
And I don't mean to be mean, but you pulled other buildings and with drawings. Why didn't you pull something that was similar to what we were asking you for? Because you did pull other...
Well, that's past experience of what we had. I pulled together a budget cost, because I don't have all the level of materials, I don't have all the construction detail that would enable me to price out a project like this. In order to do that, a lot of times what happens with public schools, it goes out to bid, and a full set of plans comes out. And at that point, we'll have our estimator go out to all the factories, all our subcontractors, and you'll get a complete proposal. I had a line drawing. That's all I had. So I had to take past experience and implement it, I think on the 4th page.
No, on page 5, you
Page
knew that
5.
it was 41,000 square feet.
Right.
And you gave us a budgetary foot cost with foundation of the building envelope would be $280 to $305 per square foot. You gave us that information, and all I was asking is you couldn't pull a drawing of a project that you did that was within that realm?
Well, I tried to pull a lot of what I had here. You know, I had a case study that had 76,000. I just took some material
Okay,
that...
I have a couple other questions.
Sure.
There was another presentation that was on our website that we had.
That's what was up here.
Okay, well, yeah, and yes and no. There was a couple of slides in there that weren't in that one. You had national customers?
Yeah, that was in there.
Oh, I didn't see it, okay.
I
So,
tried to...
all right, so there were some national customers. What did you do for Toll Brothers?
I do a lot with Toll Brothers. They,
Such as?
They buy a lot of office trailers for their job sites. They do sales centers.
So you just do like the trailers that you go into when you buy homes and stuff?
Before there's a model home built. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so that's not really applicable to us. What do you do for Disney?
Well, we build a lot of their staging, handling buildings. The actors go in and out of, basically ticket booths. You know, some of the rides have modular additions onto them. A couple of their eateries there are all modular.
Okay, so those are not really applicable to us. What do you do for the University of South Florida?
Classroom space.
So those are similar to those modular things like those 70,000, 76,000 square foot things, those kinds of things?
Well, the amount of square footage could range anywhere between 5,000 square feet and 50,000 square feet.
So are those like those modular, like trailer type things that we were looking at?
They're modular construction classroom facilities, yes. They're permanent.
Permanent, so not trailers.
Yeah, they're not trailers.
But more like what we were...
It'll last as far as like...
Absolutely, yes.
But with more like those classrooms in that $76,000,
Well, that, you got to understand that we build to suit.
I understand, but
yeah.
more like what we were looking at in that 76,000 square foot unit, that type of
It could be.
It could be something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to get a handle on
Sure.
things that you were doing for some of these companies, so I understand, you know, what you were doing. Like, okay, for Avon, for instance, better yet, Johns Hopkins University.
They do a lot of MRIs with us.
I'm sorry?
MRI buildings, they're modular.
Oh, for the MRI machines.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Along those lines, of where you're going, you didn't mention in that group, Pfizer, Boeing, Eli Lilly, General Motors, or Motorola. Are they modular, permanent modular? Or
They do permanent modulars.
What kind of
and then
permanent
sometimes
modular would any of these guys do that? Because you didn't mention it in the listing, but you mentioned it here. So, I mean, those are pretty big, powerful companies. Did you do any permanent?
Well, yeah, we've done some permanent modulars, but I only took what was specific to
I
your
understand.
needs.
What kind of permanent modular would you have done for any of these, if you could tell me?
Well, laboratories.
Okay.
You know, Pfizer do laboratories. Office space, commercial office space, that's a big one. You know, we do, probably the biggest part of our business is doing 80% of commercial office space.
But not in this particular, they're permanent modular.
Permanent modular. So, you know, they do have influx of people coming in, and sometimes they'll rent something for 6 months or a year.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
Is it 1 or 2 stories, generally?
It could be anything. But specifically to a GE or a, Pfizer, I couldn't tell you offhand if it was a 2-story or a 3-story. You can build up to 12 stories using modular construction.
Really?
As a matter of fact, there's one going up in Manhattan that's 34 stories.
There you go,
Is that module more, is that with prefab cement that goes in on steel beams?
It is a steel beam structure, concrete and steel.
Concrete and steel.
That's what I wanted to speak to you about, so you led me into my next question. So talk to me about how that's built. So I have some notes, just 2 notes, couple of notes. So I know you could do, on first floor, you could build on slab on grade.
You could do slab on grade.
Okay, so then talk to me when you start going up. So you could build slab on deck?
Well, yes, yeah. You have 3-dimensional boxes that are built at the factory, and based on the kip loads, and the kip loads are the weight of the building. That will determine what type of foundation we do to put the modular components on, just as we would for an addition to one of your schools. From that, then you start stacking them, and they're steel framed, so as you go up, they're welded and they're bolted together as you go up, like they would do with the New World Trade Center, if you will. It's just that the components are already 3-dimensional boxes.
Modular was used for the New World Trade Center?
No, but I'm saying they're steel, and they're bolted together, but in a conventional way.
It's steel construction, so they bolt it together and they weld it. So he's talking about prefab steel construction, the steel boxes that are welded together.
That's correct.
But you can do, so part of it is a slab on deck, so that are then welded together on decking.
Yeah, it would, not necessarily a flat deck, though. I think that's,
so what is
it would be more of like a piered foundation,
It's
something
not
along that lines.
the TJI joists.
No. It would just be like a piling pier system, which is concrete.
Okay, so that's the next question. Talk to me about flexing.
Flexing, they're basically built to seismic wind loads to the area, and they're made to flex, whether it's an inch for...
Well, you're talking about flexing this way to the wind. I'm talking about flexing for walking within.
Well, if it's depending on the type of modular, you could have a steel and concrete modular where your floor pan would hold concrete, and there virtually is no flex.
It's virtually no flex.
Right. And if you go with a wood-constructed modular, which is a true modular, that, no different than your house. You would probably feel something, but very minimal. Yeah, I think where you're going with that, if you go into like a temporary modular building that you see rented at the, hundreds of schools in the state, you can feel that. You can feel that in the floor.
That's not the same thing.
It's not the same thing.
Okay,
That's a temporary need for,
All right,
Can you say that again?
the temporary office trailers, we're talking about flexing the floor.
That's not what we're talking about.
No.
That's not what we're talking about.
No, but I think she was alluding to the flexing in the floor.
The first floor, is that pier construction also?
The first floor would be.
It's pier also?
Yes, it would.
Okay, I want to go to the roof system.
So there's no piers after the first floor. It's just constructed in tempered steel all the way to the top.
It's tempered steel all right, so now I want to go to the roof. So, you use trusses in the roof?
It could be, if it was architecturally built that way. We're a general contractor that specializes in modular construction. I'm not a designer, so I would work with your architect.
So it would be whatever the architect's specs?
Yeah, whatever he specs. It could be a roof truss system, it could be a flat roof, it could be a pitched roof.
So whatever he specs, you can do?
Yeah.
In your modular?
Mm-hmm.
That's very similar to conventional.
And you would ensure that we're built to code?
You could put them side by side and never tell the difference.
Well, code is changing because...
It's all built to code, yes.
Code is changing because of what happened in Edgewater.
What happened in Edgewater?
Because of the disaster in Edgewater with the truss systems.
Well, but again, our architect would be the guy supplying you.
Right, he would.
Who we trust.
The code is forever changing. They just changed in 2009. They're going to change inevitably. We just roll with the changes.
We're going to build to the code at the time.
Council, here's the thing.
Well, my issue was the trust system because of what happened just recently in Edgewater.
Understood.
And because that was a disaster. And the state is now looking into changing it pretty rapidly because of that. And that was a major concern of mine because I don't want to see us having anything that even remotely looks like that type of a trust system, that lightweight trust system, because of that. And that's why I was questioning on that. And then, did I read somewhere about a 10-year warranty on the roof? But again, you're saying...
Well, you could get a 10, a 20, it would be spec'd out to whatever...
To what our architect said.
Right.
Would spec out.
Right, so again, unless I'm misinformed, what we would do, the architect would come up with a design, it would go through a construction committee, we would then bring it to the board, and you wouldn't be building anything different than what we told you to build.
That's correct. Whatever you tell me to build, I'm building. I'm not going to dictate to you, hey, this is what you're getting, and these are our standard materials, and that's that. No, that's not what we do. What we do is, now, real important, if you're going to go modular, then you have to start out modular. You can't get hundreds of thousands of dollars of plans built conventionally and say, you know what, I don't want that. Let's take these plans and go get modular. Well, you're going to have to do the plans over again because they have to be, you got to go one way or the other.
So, Scott, I thank you for coming today because I want to make sure the public understands this is a bidding process.
Yeah.
And you're coming here to present what your company does.
Just what we do.
Well, what's important to us as a board, like we have a figure here, $11, $12 million, which to us is great because the last figure we heard was 20. But we have to know if we're going to go to referendum that we can pay the bill. So at what point, how can we assure that, I know you talked to Cindy, you haven't spoken with our architect. So how could we be sure that if we went modular, that we put enough money on the referendum? What cost, the soft cost you're talking about sometimes that aren't municipal? A soft cost in here, that's what you call it? Soft cost?
No. Well, here's the, and talking about the price structure of everything, one of the driving costs are level of finishes. We don't know what they are at this point, and that could be your level of finishes. It could be your flooring, your walls, your ceiling, the lighting, the wiring, the HVAC system, all unknown, and they're all driving factors in your cost, as well as foundation.
So if you walked into our present building, and walked around and saw what we had, and we said, we want what we have, we want it to look like what we have, and our architect and Cindy and Dr. Hibb spoke with you telling you what we need, could then you come back with a money that we know we had to spend, go out to the public for referendum, to know that we can pay the bill? I mean, because it's kind of like, I understand, it's a bidding process.
Right.
And how do we know how much money to put out there for modular? If we decide to go modular, how do we know what to ask the public for?
Well, I'd need to have a level of finish scale.
Are you willing to do that? This is what I'm asking.
It would go through our construction services team, and we would work on a budget and try and refine it for you.
So what about this number? I mean,
well, this number is
specs does that, or finishes does that?
Well, I had no specs.
No, I'm
I
sorry.
just had a floor plan.
What finishes were included in something like this? Medium?
No, I kind of went towards the higher end. Just because I felt that I didn't want to go down here. And then
that's why I'm asking.
I tend to go on the high side.
That's good. This price is at the higher end.
The higher end, does that include gold faucets in the bathroom?
No.
Because 280 square foot, I cringed when it was 275 a square foot. And when I saw this, I just said, yikes. I mean, to go even higher on non-conventional would be like cutting our throats.
Right.
Because people are going to say, well, why did you go modular?
Yeah.
Other than buying time, you spent more, in theory, you're spending more money. What is that, even though you went higher, what does that include? Does that include, like, you knew basically 28 rooms, 1,000 square feet, and then you went with 41 total, I would assume, for hallways and what have you?
What I did, well, in that proposal that you have there, there's 3 levels of construction.
Yeah.
And it goes from the lowest to the highest. And, you know, there was a project that I did with a former employee, Mario Drego School in Passaic, which was concrete. It was 2-story. And I kind of used that number, you know, and it was approximate.
That was iron and concrete.
Yeah,
slabs.
steel and concrete,
Right.
and brick exterior, you know, and, you know, it only included the modular work. So I just use that number, and past experiences on other jobs.
That 280 is just modular.
Yeah, that's correct.
280 a square foot.
That's correct.
And then we got
I didn't put any of the cafetorium conventional work in there, because I didn't have enough material for me to put that in there.
Cafetorium is not this price, in this estimate?
It's not. It's not far off, though. You know, you can use the square footage, you know, on the high side for the cafetorium. You can use that.
I'm a little disappointed with that number. I thought it was going to come in a lot lower.
And it's higher square footage.
Excuse me?
And it's higher square footage. It's close to 47,000
You
square
mentioned
feet.
that
the 280 number.
time saving-wise, 50% saving in terms of time, and the 15% in terms of the cost. Based on the slide I read through, so you have building for Pfizer, GM, or for the building. For the convention, for all you build a laboratory, right? Then the structure you have, it's in terms of school building, will be similar or different.
It'll be similar as a school setting.
So based on A4, say I give you such a XYZ square footage, and in the general standard for the schoolhouse, school building, like say you have a college, can you give us roughly estimation how much per square footage based on the school standard?
Well, that's what I put there. It's the 280 to 305. Here, I'll show you.
Does that square footage include the cafetorium space, though?
Yeah.
Well, it does, Debbie, I think to clarify, what that 41,000 is the classrooms only. You could use that for the additional to cover all
Right.
the additional, it would be the cafetorium, it would be the hallway, et cetera.
Whatever the additional square footage is, you could use that.
Included then?
No,
No.
no.
Say that again.
You would take this square footage number and times it by the rest of the square footage you would
Right, but
be
he said the
adding
high
more.
side, which is
So
like
you'd be adding,
305.
let's say for instance, it's about 12,000 square feet, so you'd add 12,000 times 280
No,
to 305 to get the
305.
range. Yeah.
I lost her.
Do you follow what I said?
Yes.
No. Not quite, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So if
We're
the,
projecting that it's going to be about 53,000 square feet for everything, okay? With the hallways, with the cafetorium, et cetera. So you have to add on 12,000 to his number of square footage to come up to the total. You'd take that 12,000 by the 305 and add it to his estimate,
Okay.
okay?
Why would you do that?
So then the per square footage, then what is the standard included, for this, which is additional?
well, there's no real standard, to be honest with you. It's whatever is designed. So whatever school is designed, whether it's to match your existing school or it's a standalone school with different finishes, they're all different. And that's why in this proposal, you're going to see different levels. You go through it, like this is the bottom, this is like a lower level modular building. That's, more like a temporary.
Okay.
And then if you keep going,
Okay, got it, I see it.
and it goes up from there.
Okay. Anybody, any other, okay, fine.
This 305, you said is like the high end, but what do you consider the high end?
Well, from just past experience, it could be full brick.
You were saying full brick, but I'm talking about like, you've never been at Abbott. It's, we don't really have full brick over at Abbott. We have lots of windows.
It could be the windows too, and it could be all your lock sets in the building, stuff that are driving factors too. Yeah, it could be the flooring material, the drop ceilings, granite. It could be, but or it could be vinyl tile, or it could be ceramic tile. It's just, that's where the price can fluctuate.
Do you ever see that number could go higher than that to like 350?
I've done laboratories over $550 a square foot based on the mechanical systems.
Laboratories.
No, we don't need that.
Laboratories.
Well,
I know. I'm just saying, like,
how about,
Bunsen burners.
when you kind of figured that, how many, we were talking about the HVAC being one of the people we spoke to said that they had 1 unit for every 7 classrooms. How did you base that on?
Well, I didn't, I just took some estimates from some schools we've done in the past, and typically, that's one way to look at it, using a bunch of 2-ton air conditioners where you can elevate it to a 3.5-ton and use less air conditioners. I didn't go into that much depth. I didn't have that much information.
Was it 1 unit per classroom? Yeah. Does that raise the 1 unit per classroom?
Well, yeah, you're talking about, what do they call those, CPAC units. They're you see them in hotel rooms. I don't know that that's the route you want to take.
We don't do that. We do.
It could be two.
I want to know if we're going to get up to 350 a room.
It could get costly getting 28 of them as opposed to maybe 5 units on top of the roof.
John?
Yes, Scott. From your experience, the modular home installation probably is different from the convention. And on the air condition and heat in the winter, from your experience, are they cost a little bit higher than the convention home?
What we do is, in every state, everything is third-party inspected, and we have to meet the codes for the state. So we're going to insulate the building accordingly, and then it's going to get inspected by a third-party engineer. Ultimately, all the wiring, the flooring, the roof insulation, the energy efficiency, that all has to meet code for the state. It's going to get inspected through the process of construction at our factory before it ever ships.
Scott, heating, air conditioning, lighting, all that's in the 280
yes.
to 305?
Absolutely.
What's not included in that?
The only $64 question is how far am I running electric? How far is the plumbing? I based it only 5 foot from the building envelope. So I don't know if I'm going 50 yards, 100 yards, 200 yards.
Okay, so for turnkey, 28 classrooms plus hallways and everything, you're talking at 285 to 305. Okay.
And then
Cafeteria,
the cafeteria.
And connectors.
Well, to me, it doesn't matter. I'm just looking at the price, whether or not it be 40,000 square feet or 60,000 square feet.
Right.
I'm looking at the square foot price and going, holy moly, brick and mortar. That's a lot of brick and mortar, man. I would have thought
They do a thin brick too.
I would have thought modular would be significantly cheaper than conventional, and it's not.
We sell speed.
Exactly. That's what it boils down to.
It boils down to speed, but prevailing wage, off-site, you're going to save some dollars there. Is it a windfall? No, and that's the biggest misconception. 10 to 15% savings is important to some districts.
Scott, to be honest with you, the biggest misconception is people are going to say it's modular, therefore it's
They don't like the word.
It's not as, they don't like the word. There's a stigma on that. There's no doubt. I've watched modular buildings go up, like in Jersey City, they were popping up. And people don't realize half the time they're in a modular building.
Right.
But for that kind of money, it's going to be to me, I think it's going to be a difficult sell.
People think trailers.
Yeah, people automatically.
Well, that's the other thing I face, and like I said,
Some people advertise it as that, which we know it isn't.
23 years I've been doing this, and every time you say the word modular or mobile office or trailer,
Yes.
you really need to get those type of folks and take them to a factory tour so they can see some of the buildings. We just did a building up in Newark for the Red Bull team, the soccer team. If you took anyone that has any negative thoughts, let's take them up to Newark. You got to see this building. You'll think that it was conventionally built. It's phenomenal. We do floorless modulars. I mean, there's so many different types of modulars.
I'm a believer. It's going to be at that cost. I thought there was going to be a better savings, Mike.
So that's it. I mean, I agree with you.
That's my opinion down this end.
So he doesn't have that kind of savings to go for modular at this point. It's not the same. It's not savings. It's about the same with reduction in
You're saving
speed.
time, that's all you're going to save.
Right.
And a few million, right?
A few million, a couple million.
I don't know that.
You'll save a few dollars because of the prevailing wage.
I don't know if it'd be a
offsite.
couple million because now with these numbers here though.
Hill.
All right.
It was a good presentation, though.
I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Got some nice
Last guy
buildings.
was horrendous.
Well, and if you wanted to see a couple of projects and step foot inside one, certainly I'll invite you all, and I can arrange for that. I really think the one building we just completed in Newark, the Red Bull building, it would knock your socks off.
Say Red Bull?
Red Bull.
They got Red Bull.
The soccer building.
Like, gives you wings?
They give it, yeah. Yeah, it's, we did it for the team.
Board trip.
Yeah. It's pretty impressive.
Board of
And then Rockland Bosse's put an addition on, and we matched the school. So that's in this towards the back. Rockland Bosse's.
You did Red Bull Arena?
Not the arena, the locker rooms.
Locker room.
10-4.
Board trips.
This is Rockland Bosse's. It's been an hour and a half. We did that 2 years ago. And that was an addition onto an existing school.
It's outside brick.
Well,
it looks like brick.
It looks like brick, but they didn't go with brick on that. They went with another type of product. And it went over their budget, so they backed into it by changing up the mechanical system and the siding, but it really looks like a phenomenal building. And that's
bring them lower than 280?
I think it was 255 square foot.
So lower is possible as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because he gave us the high end, and then if you want to go not all brick, but make it look like brick, and it's still just the same.
Yeah, you can value engineer anything, you
Very
know,
much.
it's just a matter of what your expectations are.
And it's hard if we don't give you what we're looking for. Because
Yeah,
I tell you, I want to build a house, and this is how much square footage, and how much you're going to charge.
I don't want egg on my face. I'll go here before I go here. I don't want to sell you a bill of goods and then, well, Scott, you said it was $200 a square foot and now it's $305. No, I'm not going to do that. Not if it's something that's, you know, non-negotiable. You know what I mean? I'm going to sit down with someone. I can iron out all these details, but it's a public school. It's going to go out the bid. And I don't have all the details, so I can't throw pie in the sky.
Scott, I got to ask a business administrator a question. I was just speaking with Dr. Hibbs. So the question that I have now is, if the board wanted to go to bid on a modular and conventional and see what comes back, we could ask Ted to make 2 sets of plans, correct? Pay him to make 2 sets of plans, see what comes back, and then make a decision of what referendum to go on. Couldn't we do that?
I've seen that done before.
Couldn't we do that? Just end this whole thing once and for all? Just have Ted make 2 sets of plans, have it pass through construction.
Time out, though.
Yeah.
I have to have money.
How about, I know it's money, you have to tell us how much it costs, and we have to say that's okay. We need money that we have to
No,
spend.
but you can't go out to bid without having the funds.
Can't bid
Yeah, but
and
we're
then decide
taking
what
one or
you're
the
gonna go
other.
out for?
We're not taking.
No, I have to have the source of funds in order to go out
She
for
needs a
bid.
referendum first.
Exactly. You can't you're putting the cart before the horse because I don't have money. You can't do a
How do we
referendum.
ask for a referendum if we don't know what we're asking for?
That's what you have the architect give you estimates and do designs, but I can't go out for bid. He can design both sides, but we cannot put it out for bid because I don't have funding. There is no intention to award it.
So, Sin, could Ted then do exactly what he did for the regular construction for the modular and come back in with the same ballpark for us?
Yes.
That's when you
How
do
much
that.
is that going to cost?
I don't know. I'd have to ask him.
My only concern here, everybody, is that we traveled this path to figure out exactly where we were and how much it could cost us, which I totally agree with. Now, if you really want to finish that, there's only one thing to do, aside from, no offense, is to abandon modular and simply go regular, or abandon regular and go modular. But at this point, you've already flushed it. I just don't know how you don't flush it all the way. And that way you can have a totally informed decision. Everyone here has said, to the public, we want to know all the facts before we do anything. So, to me, I think you have to explore the avenues that give you all the facts as quickly as possible.
What did Ted charge us for the original documents?
We don't have specs on that. All he did was just some design work and stuff.
So we don't even have that yet.
But he gave us a
He
gave us a ballpark
Yes.
for what you were looking at, which is what you would want.
Wait. When we did the approval of the 3 or 4 different things, wasn't that part of it?
Yeah, he gave us the 3 different levels. Is that what you're talking about,
Yeah.
Deb? Yeah, like the 28 classrooms, the less than 28 classrooms.
Hold on. I have it.
He did the mechanicals.
I thought that was all done.
Yeah.
Well, for conventional it's done, but we would have to.
How much
Well,
do
she
you
said
charge
it's
us
not
for
done.
that?
Move up.
Trying to find out if our plans that we've given by our architect are complete for conventional building or not.
We don't have plans.
So,
All we
no.
have is concepts. You don't have plans.
We have the same from our guy that we have from this gentleman, Scott. We have a number, a ballpark number.
Correct.
Yes, we do.
But you
That
don't
is-
have plans. You don't have detailed
Yeah.
information.
I think the issue is that you have it from the architect, whereas Scott would want to do the same thing with the architect and sit down and say, it's not going to be your seat in the ballpark, it's your row. I mean, the numbers that Ted came in before, you could be, they weren't exact, it would have to be bid. But he would.
He gave us numbers based on his
Yes.
expertise, knowing what a bid should go out.
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
Correct.
Can he do the same thing for
Wait,
modular?
what did Ted charge us for that?
I don't have it with me.
I'd like to know what Ted charges for that.
Excuse me, do they give us a date? I remember they give us a cost, but do they give us a date, how long it takes?
Yeah.
They did.
Forever.
Does anybody remember how long it takes?
It would be about a
Year
year.
and a half, he
A
said.
year, okay.
Year to year and a half, I thought.
He said 18 months.
Well, it depends on when he gets started, depends on the approvals to the state. There's a lot of, and again, I'm going to say that if you would tell him to go ahead now and start designing and doing the work, you could get very close to, if you had a successful referendum, getting this out on the street in October, November, so you could award it and they could get started.
Conventional.
Correct.
And that's with a September referendum if it passes. So if we do a September referendum and it passes with modular, we're looking at a potential 4-month run. Is that correct?
Approximately.
Well, I'd like to know what he charges
4 months
and what he's
versus-
going to charge us.
How much would Ted charge us for the modular?
He don't know, she don't know.
I don't know, I have to
Okay, so
ask
I
him.
think that's what we need to know, right?
I guess we need to know that at the next meeting, then we'll board will make a decision whether it wants to do one or the other, or ask for plans for modular, and go from that point. Scott, I thank you very much. You're very informed.
Well, thanks for having me. If there's any questions that come up or you'd like to do a field trip, certainly give me a call and I can arrange for it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Were you at the last one? the last modular, so you know it was a good one.
Okay, our final public session.
So what are we doing? We're going to find out what Ted charges for the other plans and what he's going to charge us to do
Yes.
the modular plans?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Both sets of plans, Cindy, prices on. Yes, that'll be the next meeting. Hopefully, we'll have that information. Final public session open to any item. Any member of the public wish to address the board on any item, please come forward, please.
Yay!
Name and address, please. I need the...
Is this on? Robin Wolf, 101 Cannonade Drive. First, I want to start by saying I was really offended by those people that yelled at the board members for their votes. I really think that's quite offensive. They're allowed their opinion, and that really offended me. And now on to another topic. As Stacy stated, it is more than the park that we want to talk about. Locally, there are things that can be done in regards to assessments. These students are taking tests, quizzes, common assessments, and CPTs. They are so over-assessed formally. My child does not enjoy going to school at all anymore. When my other son was in Dugan, he loved going. It was never an issue. Getting my child to go now, am I going to have another test today? What test are they giving us today? What test am I not going to do well on? What test am I going to see on the parent portal? It's really discouraging. And as an educator, it's really hard for me to say, I happen to agree with the amount of tests, and they are so excessive. These children are taking way too many tests. Discussing with parents about kids getting 20s, 30s, 40s on the CPDs. What is this doing to our children's self-image, to their self-confidence? I believe that there is something that you could do as a board to discuss this and discuss the number of assessments that are given daily. I know one meeting I was at, Dr. Hibbs posted how many tests were given in each subject. I believe there are more than that are really given. I believe that more time is taken for testing than we are really led to believe. And then I have one other question in regards to the park. What happens if a kid sitting next to my child, and this child says, I'm not taking the park, and my child says, oh, I'm not taking the park either. Does he have the right, I'm not refusing the test, but if I was to, does he have the right to say, as a child, as a 10-year-old, I'm not taking the test? I'm just curious how that works. If they're sitting in a classroom and, two kids say, I'm not taking the test, or they come in with a letter, and their teacher already knows, but they have to sit in front of the computer and refuse to take the test. Now, my child hears, Johnny's not taking the test. I don't want to take the test either. What's going to be what?
So all questions at the end of the public session.
Okay, that's it.
That's the only one?
It was really just
Okay.
more about, I think we just need to look at our assessments and the excessive assessments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public wish to address the board on any item? Sure. I just need to sign the clipboard. Robin? You need to sign the clipboard, please? Okay, thank you.
Really quick question, Erica Boylan, 2780 Drive. If the child refuses the park, what impact does that have on the teacher? I don't know. I haven't looked into that. Not necessarily from you, but from a state or park standpoint. I was just curious.
Thank you. Did you sign that clipboard? Thank you. Okay. Anyone else in the public wish to address the board on any item? Okay, seeing none, sir.
All right. Robin had excessive testing. Robin, what was this? I'm sorry. Tell me your question again.
The second child in the class sits up.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to take
Okay. All right. So it's a great question. So the state has really left a lot of things unanswered. So on a lot of ways, what they've said to us is you need to figure out what you're going to do. So different districts are doing different things. Some districts are saying you need to have a letter of refusal for me to honor that. Others aren't. So here is just the plain facts when you look at the park manual. If a student, for whatever reason, refuses to take the test, it's coded that way. So I'm not going to take a child to task and argue with him or her in the moment and say, no, your mom didn't send me an email or didn't write me a letter. You're going to take this test. I'm not going to do that. Just let her know it's okay. So yes, if in the moment a child does refuse that is not on our watch list, yes, we will contact the parent. The second question from Erica is about, what are the ramifications of a child not taking the test for park? All right, so And this came out from Bonnie before, because Bonnie's question was, something about the 95%, and are you trying to wiggle around something? We're not wiggling around. So if a student does not take the test or is voided, they didn't take the test at all. So it's not as if the teacher will have any ramifications for their MSGP. Absolutely not. So what it does mean is that they're simply voided. Now, what the code states for Achieve NJ is that in order for teachers to be live to get that part of their evaluation, which comes from PARC, which is the median student growth percentile, they need to have at least 20 students to go live. Some teachers will not get that for a few years if they teach, for instance, a small group. Others who have that will go live first year. But that won't play any bearing on that. A student that, from my understanding, that refuses to take does not get counted towards one of those 20. So it won't have any ramification in the fact that, let's be crazy and say 18 kids out of a classroom refuse to take the test. It's not as if the teacher will have 18 negatives and only have the 2 people to try and counteract that. Not the way, from my estimation, it'll work. So if a child takes the assessment, literally takes it and tries, there's a score. If they don't, they're coded as a void. So no ramifications for the teacher.
Really? Go ahead.
So if,
I didn't name again.
Jen Wexler, 46 Masters Drive. Okay, so if a student refuses the test, it's coded as misconduct. Is that voided?
Yeah, it's all a void.
So that's still considered a void. Is there any ramification on a student whose test is labeled misconduct? Like on a state level, this level, that level?
Nothing that's been told to me. In the past, for NJ Ask, this has happened, not all the time, but it absolutely happens. You just simply code it. You would call, when I was the director of curriculum, I would call Orlando Vidal, I believe his name was, from NJ Ask, now he's PARC, and you would simply say, Orlando, I had an issue today. Johnny ate the test booklet.
Right.
I managed to regurgitate page 52, but 53 is gone. And you report it. So no, I don't think there's any follow. I'm sure, well, I can't say I'm sure. What would I do if I was the state of New Jersey? I would take a real good hard look at how many parents actually, how many students actually refused, and then that would have to be a point of discussion. I would guess that Commissioner Heskey would probably run that through his assessment committee, but that's just Eric Michael's take on it. But I don't think there's any, from my guess, which is just an educated guess, there's no follow through from 3rd to 4th or 8th to 9th. It's just simply going to be you took it or you didn't. And just like in the past, we've had students who wouldn't have taken NJ Ask for whatever reason. They were sick, they had mono, they couldn't be administered, they were, in India, wherever they would be, they wouldn't have, I don't mean that disrespectfully, I mean, they could be anywhere. They just didn't get scored. And then you just don't get the NJ Ask profile that comes whenever it comes, and you just don't have that benchmark 290 or 300 or 240.
Okay, and then if, once the testing site is secure, and it's time for testing, the student comes into school late, they would just
do not enter the testing environment.
Correct. So
that would be consistent through the past years.
That's just, they don't get to take the test.
Not that moment, no. Yep. So if you wanted to send your child late, they get frozen out for that day.
Right. And then for makeup dates, we would just enact the refusal.
I'm going to, what I'm going to interpret is that if you send your child in and they refuse a test, they're not going to sit for the makeup. I'm not going to put them through it twice. That's ridiculous.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay. I'm going to read the executive session resolution. Being resolved that in accordance with provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, the Marlborough Township Board of Education shall conduct a closed executive session pursuant to personnel legal exceptions prescribed by NJSA 10:4-12 for the purpose of discussing the sale of the Morganville School, Anticipated length of this executive session will be 10 minutes, and action will not be taken in public executive session. Be further resolved that the minutes of executive session will be released with need for confidentiality in accordance to NJSA 10:4-12. No longer applies. That is seconded by Debbie. All those in favor? Aye. Any against? No. Oh, thank you. I will make a motion to adjourn to second session. Seconded by Craig. All those in favor? Aye. Anybody against? No. Thank you for coming out tonight.